Vigilantes. I have the honor and privilege to be closing out 2023 with the one and only Army of Youth. If you don't know who Army of Youth is, it's probably because you missed out on the greatest exponent in probably crypto history. And what I just said, the language I just used of greatest exponent was actually something created by Army of Youth. Army of Youth was by far, hands down, the most successful entrepreneur in Bitcoin crypto history in 2023, including within this whole ordinal revolution. Army, it goes without saying, it's really an honor to have you here. Thank you first and foremost for your time, and how are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. This is my first time ever doing an interview in this setting, and I'm doing great, and hopefully you're doing well as well.
A year ago, where were you? Because it was today we're celebrating Ordinals Eve, the day before the Ordinals white paper was dropped. When did you come to know about ordinal theory? Tell us your story. How did you get into all of this?
Okay, so my on-chain journey, it began in 2019 when BSV was created, I think. And I was like one of the first people to like start playing around with BSV and on-chain data. And it interested me because just like having like immutable, unhackable data that could be like scripts or websites or applications that can like earn you Bitcoins that don't need servers. These are things that were like really interesting to me about the on-chain economy. And then like a year ago, I was just like doing what everyone else does in crypto, just like trying to read charts, margin trade, like trade OTC. And like I had gotten signs that the crypto market had already bottomed in like November of last year, where there was like articles in like Wall Street Journal that were like, oh, crypto's final price may be zero, and then so I kind of had an idea that okay, we're close to the bottom. And then in like how do I say, in February was when I found Ordinals, which I guess was 2 months after it had already been on market. And right when I saw Ordinals, like that was like there was just like I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, holy fuck, like like on-chain data is finally on Bitcoin, and that to me was like sorry, BTC, right? So that to me was like it was unexpected. So it was like a big bang or black swan event on BTC itself. So that's how I looked at that event happening. I was like, holy, like something that was prevented from being a part of BTC for like for its entire existence, basically. Now it's like it's real, and like that's when I realized I'm like, okay, wow, now it's time for BTC to be like a global computer and then be like money on the side, right? So because that was the one thing that when we like I think we're all like early Bitcoiners that like back in 2013 when we were learning about Bitcoin, we were always told, oh yeah, Bitcoin is a protocol and money is one of its functions, and it has all these other functions that you could do on this protocol. But for some reason, like those other things weren't allowed on the protocol. And then not after Ordinals, when I saw that, I was like, wow, like this is it. Because one of the reasons was why I saw it as final was because there's nothing above BTC, the coin, right? Like ETH has like ERC-20s, but like to me, there wasn't a finality to them because, like there's another protocol on top of ETH. ETH is not the dominant protocol or whatever, right? So for me, like I looked at Ordinals like, wow, it's like the on-chain data on the most secure, most unhackable, most liquid, most adopted blockchain in the world, right? So to me, this finality of it was what really mattered, because until then, nothing in crypto was really like a final thing. Like everyone was always waiting on like something else, right? Like for Ethereum, you had to wait for like the hard fork to proof of work, and then there's always another announcement, and then this and that and blah blah. And then for me, like what I had learned from BSV about on-chain was like, yo, like you could actually have like this final like economy on Bitcoin. And then once I saw it on BTC, like that's when I just like, it was just like intuition, like, you know, like a lot of the things that I was sharing with people, and what I was like thought was thinking was just like my gut just telling me like, okay, this is it, this is final, it's on Bitcoin, you know, just focus on this. Because I had tried to focus on BSV in the past, and then like it wasn't like getting like natural amount of like users, like user growth, right? And I think that's why like BSV just went into like a perpetual downtrend versus Bitcoin, even though in theory like it was correct. And then now all that stuff is happening on Bitcoin. So I was like, okay, this trend on Bitcoin actually has a real shot, because it's the most liquid blockchain on earth, the most adopted. So it should naturally get like a network effect. And I think one of the key things that people like you can't expect, like I feel like people expect, like when you're expecting things to happen, they don't happen, right? So like these network effects that are like natural, that just are like spontaneous, they're like spontaneous, right? Like when we first found out about Bitcoin back in like 2013 or 2014, like it was just spontaneous, like wow, like this Bitcoin thing just came out of nowhere, right? And then same thing with Ordinals, like it came out of nowhere, right? So that's why the moment I discovered it, I started like, I already knew a bunch of theory off of BSV, so I started applying that, and then I started like getting more and more thoughts about like how it would work on Bitcoin and stuff. And then yeah, like I created a, like my first thing was just like inscribing like my own art collection, selling that out, right? And then I did that with like a few art collections, and then obviously BRC 20 happened, and then that's when like the light bulbs really clicked, where it was like, holy shit, like this is becoming like a risk on this is basically becoming a risk economy for BTC, right? And if we were at zero at that moment, right, like this economy has a chance for exponential growth, right? So that's how I was looking at Ordinals in February. Like, okay, this is the final on-chain data layer. It's on the final or like the biggest blockchain, right? And then yeah, like basically like I just had like this finality mindset, like everything is final, final, final. Like after this, like if it doesn't work on BTC, like I'm not looking for anything after that. Like if it can't work on BTC, it's not gonna work on anything else, you know? So this was like one mindset that I had back in February. Yeah.
That's interesting because like you're very unique because you came to that exact conclusion all on your own. And I think a lot of us that came into BTC ordinals from BSV, we didn't gravitate. We didn't come to the logical conclusion that you did. And I think that's what makes you stand apart from the rest. Because then you come to a world and to a bunch of realizations that are very unique and thus far have been more accurate than anyone else. Like, let's just be honest. You're so let's talk about, let me ask you something, man, because you talk about in crypto in general, we talk about how there's like how there are exponential functions and how this thing is going to grow exponentially, but you've taken that to its logical conclusion and you're not just using it as a buzzword. You're actually applying the discovery of exponents to everything, to the point that you have been able to, let's call it, I don't know what you would call it because you're kind of like the father of it. What would you call it? Like exponential theory? Like
Yeah,
you,
so I don't think like
when did you
yeah, so
start? When did you, my question is, when did you start? Like, when did the light bulb dawn on you? Like, this is what I need to focus on and I need to seek for these mathematical conclusions.
so I started like looking at like price in terms of exponents like back in like 2019 or 2020. like I was looking at like cosine waves, sine waves, tangent waves, and like I was like looking at like everything, and I just kept seeing like I would look at like a price chart, right? And then like price, like a upwarding price that's going towards the right, like it has a slope, right? And then like I studied about network effects, how like network effects were like n to the power two, and then when you look at that chart, it's like an exponential slope, right? And then like Metcalfe's law, it's like an exponent, right? Like it's an exponential slope. So like I started noticing like exponents everywhere, and then um I started like in my heart I knew that like getting to like $1 million or $100 million or $1 billion, like it was like a math problem that was like that could be solved, like you could like get like an infinite amount of cash if you just lock it into a network effect. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, so this thought
Yeah.
had been in my head since I discovered on-chain, because that was the first time when I created like BSV apps, like I was streaming Bitcoin, and like I was like, wait a minute, like if this thing gets enough users, like it'll have like an exponential effect where like I can stream like basically an infinite amount of Bitcoin, but like BSV didn't get the users for that network effect,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, so I was thinking about it like 3, 4 years ago, but then this year is when I started like it started becoming really, really clear after Ordinals, because every single piece of equity on chain from like that was like fair mint, like good distribution, like proper community and all that stuff, like from like March or February or whatever, like all those collections have gone exponential. Like when you look at Bitfrogs, it's at like $7,000, it was like $30, right? Like that's
Even
exponential.
though they're NFTs, right? They're gone
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exponential.
But they're still like they're on Bitcoin, right? So like that's why I started calling Bitcoin like an exponential function, because I was like, wait a minute, like the art I released, it went exponential in price. The art all these other people are releasing, it's going exponential in price. And then BRC 20s happened, and then all those like Sats, Ordi, and a bunch of other ones like Meme, Pepe, and all these things, they started going exponential, right? So then after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, like equity on this layer, it can't, like the number one thing is you have to operate with the mindset that it's final, it can't be stopped, it's perpetual in its existence, right? Because if you're not operating with this mindset that it's final, it can't be stopped, and it's perpetual in its existence, then you don't believe in its long-term prospects, right? Because if it can't exist perpetually, then what you're essentially saying is that one day that it will all go to shit, it will all go to zero, right? And then if that's the case, then essentially you're wasting your time. You're essentially saying that I'm just in a temporary casino, and I plan on leaving eventually, and because one day this casino will all go to zero, and basically we're all gonna be poor, right? So to me, I don't have that belief. Like I don't believe that, yo, one day I'm gonna wake up and Bitcoin or BTC won't be there, or one day I'm gonna wake up and Ordi won't be there, right? Like these things have to exist perpetually for this exponent to work, right? Like if I had the belief that, oh, one day Ordi can be shut down or BTC can be shut down and all these things will go away, then there's no point in me working on these things or being a part of them, because they're gonna go to zero one day, right? So logically, people that think like that, like they've already like they're basically like hindered their thinking, because there's like one big assumption that you have to make about Bitcoin and Ordi and all these things for you to even partake in it, right? Because if you believe it's gonna go to zero, then what are you doing here? Like
Right.
you're not acting logically, right? So to me, that's a huge logic that you have to believe if you wanna, like you can't be afraid of that, right? Like I guess a lot of people, they see that fear of like it not existing as like this risk, but then like to me, like risk without risk, there's no reward, right? Like so one of the one of the reasons Bitcoin is so successful is because there's like a bunch of people that believe it can die, right? And then if basically that's that belief that they have fuels that exponent, right? So and then
How
like
so? How so? Can you explain
yeah,
that, please? How so?
because as much as like people like to think that like markets are like this thing where like everyone can win, like they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like um that's why like I could, it's like the perfect example is like in front of us, right? Like back in like March, April, May, like we were like I was like telling people about Ordi, screaming at people, like crying to people, like telling them like, yo, you guys got to understand this urgency. You guys don't like, like scale your liquidity. Like you won't get a chance like this from zero again. You know what I'm saying? So even though I was in my heart, what I thought I was sharing the truth with people, right? Like people didn't accept the truth, right? It was like, it's kind of like the same, like problem that like I guess like like for example Jesus, right? Like when Jesus came, he came to try to bring truth to people, right? And then people rejected the truth that he was telling, that he was trying to share with them, right? So I don't want to say that like it's just like a parallel. Like I was trying to share the truth with people, but then people like it's just like people, they could have been retired by now,
For sure.
and but they chose not to listen to the truth because like everyone in the market believes that like they know what the right thing is, or they know what like their ego believes that, oh, they're right, they're the smartest and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But they don't look at markets like how I was looking at it. Like I was not looking at it like, oh, there's gonna be announcements, or like Ordi's gonna end up on Binance or this or that. Like I was already looking at it like, yo, that's an inevitable outcome of this like exponent, right? It's like Bitcoin. Like back when we adopted Bitcoin, right? Like I adopted Bitcoin with the belief that, yo, like this thing can't be stopped. That's why it will be successful. Not with the belief that, oh, one day BlackRock will have an ETF and then, oh yeah, it will be successful because of that, right? So like to me, or like Ordi, uh, it was gonna end up on Binance anyways. Like it was gonna end up on all these exchanges anyways because it was gonna be the biggest exponent on Ordinals. And then what like businesses would be stupid to not have the number one volume asset on Ordinals. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be against their interest, right?
The truth is that some people just are smarter than others, and they come to logical conclusions faster than anyone else. Like in real time, I saw how you came to logical conclusions before anyone else. Your brain just works faster. So you saw things that other people didn't see. And as much as you tried to tell people, they didn't listen. Like, I'll be honest with you, bro. Like, I tried to seek validation amongst traditional crypto technical analysts and fundamental analysts regarding Ordi. And because I was looking for validation, I was the guy that ended up getting in around $1. I didn't
Yeah.
inscribe because to me, I was seeking validation. I learned my lesson the hard way. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
but it's okay. I still got in early. I
Yeah.
still think it's early, if you ask
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. Like you're gonna end up with like 1,000x trade, right? Which is like, fuck, it's more than good enough. Like that's like a
Yeah,
lifetime with the inflation that you just beat, right? So
right
yeah, like
on.
yeah, so yeah, like so like for me, like my entire journey in Bitcoin has been one of like being lonely. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I was like obsessed with this concept of like sovereign individual, where I was like, and also I'm an only child, so like loneliness and being alone was just like a part of my existence, right? So everything that I tried to do it on my own. Like I would just try things that I just had to do it on my own. Like that was one thing where I'm like, yo, like unlocking $1 billion is a math problem. So like this thing can be done alone. I just got to figure out like what exponent I'm gonna catch. You know what I'm saying? So that thought was always in the back of my mind. Like it was like, okay, unlocking $1 billion or 100 million or 50 million. This is just a math problem. People have like basically even like the way I visualize like a successful business is like someone just solved a math function, and like basically that's what a successful business essentially is, right? It's like math, like successful businesses are usually good network effects,
See
and
how
they're
you
math.
think. See how you think. You think different
Yeah.
than other people, dude. I've never come across someone that thinks like you.
Yeah, so I
Straight up,
so to
bro.
me,
Like I'm telling you, you're
any
very unique,
successful
man.
business, yeah. So any successful business that has like steady growth or exponential growth, I just look at all of them like network effects. Like I simplified everything in my brain down to like, okay, is this gonna have like a positive network effect or like a negative network effect, right? So like central banking has like had like basically like the United States interest expense, like their federal interest expense, that's a negative exponent, right? Like now they're paying like $1 trillion in interest every year, right? And then their tax revenue is like 4.8 trillion, right? So like the United States now is in a debt spiral where like 20% of their tax revenue goes towards paying their federal interest expense. And this negative exponent that they're in, right? Like it's just gonna keep getting worse and worse and worse because this compounding debt, it's an exponential function, right? And then so yeah, so in that another thing of my life experience that was really important in understanding like exponents was like my experience back in my home country. So like back in my home country, it was like it's a developing country, and then like they had like hyperinflation and they had high interest rates, right? So even like in that economy, like interest rates are like 20%, but inflation keeps going up, right? And it like to me, so one thing that people thought over here was that like trad finance people, like they weren't looking at it like, oh, globalization is making the entire world's economy a third world economy essentially. You get it, where like the entire
Right.
world will have higher inflation, and it
Right.
will have it will have higher inflation, and it will have higher interest costs, right?
Hmm.
So in the country where I'm from, what would happen is the hyperinflation and the higher interest expense would just make people gravitate towards cash transactions, and then it would send all the hard equity to the moon in like that fiat price, right? So
Right.
so I started looking at like the whole world like that. I was like, okay, basically, so you're telling me that interest expense is going up around the world, and then inflation is not stopping, right? And it's compounding. So that means that hard assets will be really valuable, right? And that's why gold started going up, like housing prices, land prices, and then Bitcoin started going up, and now Ordi, like to me, Ordi is like even harder asset than Bitcoin, so that's why Ordi is outperforming Bitcoin,
How
right?
is it? Please explain that. I think that's the key I want to get into. How is Ordi a better exponent than Bitcoin itself, BTC?
Because there's no block subsidy and fees that can be earned by miners like that's measured in Ordi, right? So like if you've noticed, anytime BTC miners, like the fees are high, like 300 V bytes or whatever, then miners, if you notice, like they're at some points they're earning as much as a subsidy or more, right? So what's happening is that they're having a surplus of Bitcoin that it's like an oil company. Like sometimes they have a surplus of oil, sometimes they don't have a surplus of oil, and then they kind of dictate like when are they gonna dump in the market or if they're gonna hold it back and all this stuff, right? So with
Okay.
Ordinals, what happened was is that like that whole like what would happen to miners after subsidy ended question was answered. It's like, oh yeah, or like we'll just have like this on-chain economy like replace the fees. But the one fundamental factor that's different between BTC and Ordi that makes Ordi harder money is the fact that Ordi exists on BTC protocol without the whole mining aspect of it. So like there's no miners, like the miners that are earning the fees for Ordi, like off Ordi transactions, they're still earning them in BTC. And then miners are always dumping BTC, right? Like Ordi doesn't have this like basically this entity or group of people that are constantly dumping it. You get it? So like
Yeah.
if people so like I can't just run ASICs and mine Ordi. Like I'm gonna have to mine BTC and then buy the Ordi, right? Like if I would have to like that. So to me, that is the one fundamental difference where like it makes Ordi like a rare thing for people to get. You know, like it's like harder to get Ordi, right? Like you gotta like yes, technically you can set up mining rigs and then mine BTC and then acquire the Ordi, right? But you can never just mine Ordi or like have like so for example, like some BTC miners find like a inefficiency in electricity costs, right? So if you're getting free electricity and you're mining Bitcoin, right? So now you can sell what the below the market value because you're getting cheaper BTC, right? So all these market dynamics, they don't apply to Ordi, right? Like Ordi is just, it's like a diamond that exists on Bitcoin that cannot be mined. It's fixed in supply and it's secured by the exact same principles and properties that secure Bitcoin, right? So technically the same hash that secures BTC secures Ordi, but Ordi is can't be mined, right?
Right.
So yeah, so to me that is the key difference between BTC and Ordi is that Ordi can't be mined and BTC can, right? And this fundamental market dynamic, it makes Ordi the harder money on Bitcoin because
Yeah, you're
everything
right.
else, especially as the token, as like money aspect, everything else like fundamentally is essentially the same. 21 million supply, secured by like 500 exahash or whatever. Basically, can't be double spent. Like all the properties, security properties, double spend properties that we feel safe on Bitcoin are applied to Ordi,
All
except
of
for the
them.
fact all of them, yes, except for the fact that Ordi can be mined, you know,
Even the
and
fact
that
that it's liquid, because now we have Ordi on Binance everywhere. We have Ordi on
exactly,
all
yeah,
exchanges.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
has
So
all of the qualities of BTC.
yeah,
And I like the way you put it. It's the diamond. It's like a jewel
yeah,
within the BTC network. Wow.
yeah. So Ordi is like, I look at it like, okay, wow, like this is like the first money network effect on the BTC protocol, right? So when Ordi is going exponential, it's going exponential in BTC, right? Like obviously, if it's going exponential in BTC, the dollar price will go up because BTC is going up in dollars, right? But Ordi's network effect is actually measured in BTC, right? That's why to me it's so amazing because this is like the first network effect on the BTC protocol. So the n to the power two, we're measuring it in the amount of bitcoins that are flowing into Ordi. You get it? Like it's not,
Yeah. Holy
yeah,
shit. You're right.
yeah. It's the first network effect on the
Wow.
BTC protocol, right? So the flow that's of like money that's coming into Ordi is on chain is in Bitcoin, right? And the fact that you cannot stop the Bitcoins from flowing into Ordi, like it's like a leak, right? It's like what it's just like a leak that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the black hole is just absorbing more and more Bitcoin over time, right?
Right. So what would you
Yeah.
say about now we're getting dollars coming into Ordi. Now it's on Binance and it's on OKX and all these exchanges.
Yeah, so dollars. So the way I look at it is like USD is even a worse store of value than BTC, right? So now like it'll just more like USD. If we're bringing in USD and BTC, it'll just suck up both liquidity even faster, right? Like so yeah, so basically you know how like BTC sucks in USD because it's better as a monetary unit, and then Ordi sucks in all the USD and the BTC because it's better than both of them as a monetary unit, right?
So maybe a lot of people watching this are getting like kind of mind fogged, asking themselves, how is this better than BTC as a monetary unit? Maybe there is something that else that you could say that could make the case even further, more profound for
So
Ordi.
yeah, so basically the way people should look at like the entire Ordinals ecosystem is that this is the risk economy of BTC, right? So in the real world, in the physical world where you earn USD, right, and you want to take risk with your USD, you enter the S&P 500, you enter Nasdaq, you enter Dow Jones, okay, and then you risk your dollars, right, in the hopes that these things go up over time, and then you get more dollars out of them, right, like
Right.
relative to inflation, right? On BTC, right? Now we have a whole economy where we risk our BTC instead of dollars, and in the hopes that we can get more BTC in the long run, right? Or we can lose BTC because it's a risk economy. In a risk economy, there's winners and losers, right? Like some people will bet their BTC and then they will lose. So for example, people that bought 0xBT or like other more centralized BRC20s, those guys didn't do as well. They took a risk. They risked their Bitcoins on the Bitcoin risk economy and they lost.
I'm
Like they
I'm happy
lost.
you brought that up. Real quick,
Yeah.
just a quick digression.
Yeah.
What was it? 0xBT was a kind of, in my opinion, a scam of sorts because it was centrally planned. It was
Yeah.
something that where they minted out the entire liquidity, and under the pretense of, what was the pretense? They created like a separate second layer exchange to then disperse the OXBTs. They did a huge propaganda campaign. They brought a bunch of people from Ethereum. They tried to it was a not fairly minted half-ass version of Ordi, and and obviously Ordi's still number one. Did I describe it correctly? Is there something else I want to say to that? Because this is very
Yeah.
good for people to learn, about
Yeah.
what
So
a fair mint is, a fair inscription is.
yeah, like 0xBT, like I think they minted the whole supply and then
Yeah,
they had like so basically they did a deal with like a minting platform where I guess they received a fee from all the people that purchased it, right? And then they made it look like, oh yeah, because it was like a few dollars instead of like whatever you would pay to mint the miners, that like, oh, the beta was still high, but they didn't understand that like they essentially did a ICO or a security,
that's what
right? Because
happened. Yes.
yeah, so that's why even I put it on chain. Like the moment 0xBT was created, I was like, warning, 0xBT ticker is a security,
Right.
because it was designed like a security. And then like they did it in the United States on top of that, which is like fucking brain damage. It's like, why would
Yeah.
you create a security in the United States? Like that's like the
That's
worst
so
thing you can.
dumb. So
Yeah, it's like
stupid.
the dumbest shit ever, right? So that's why even when I first started in the space, I was like, yo, the number one thing, if you guys have been watching for the last 10 years to protect yourself is risk and legal, right? Like protect yourself from like first of all, first thing first in crypto is make sure you protect yourself from legal risk and like from risk as in like just to like fucking price risk to like lose your money on scams and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because as we saw with like Ponzi's in the past, like Luna, FTX, and all these like these are the two top Ponzi's, right? Like their prices went up for like a year or two and like it confused a lot of people, but like people that knew where to watch for the red flags, like they knew, okay, these are like security tokens. The yield that they're offering is literally fucking stupid. Like to me, like anything that can offer you yield greater than like the United States government, on like their treasury bills, there's something really fishy going on. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like there's some sort of risk being taken where that you're not fully aware of. Because like how the hell can Luna offer you 20% yield on like UST? You get it? When the Fed can only offer you like 5% on US dollars,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that like yeah, where's the like how can a smaller entity than the Federal Reserve of the United States offer you greater yield, right? Like it doesn't make sense. That's why like crypto yield, like I always ask like, yo, where does the yield come from? Like, usually it's just like a hyperinflationary model where early like it's like Marxism where like early adopters they get all the yield and then late adopters get hyperinflated, right? So that's why to me this on-chain layer was so great where I was like, wow, like this thing is gonna go exponential without any like basically like any usury, like any interest, any yield, and none of that stuff because it was all equity. Like I looked at Fairmint BRC20s, like they were like like they're basically commodities, right? Like no one can ever say that, oh, Ordi was a security because there was no money raised for Ordi, right? Like Ordi, we all minted it and then the fee was paid to the miners, right? And then we got credited with like the Ordi token or whatever. Like no one, there was no ICO, like there's no team, there's no one raised money, like there's no central point of, oh yeah, this is an Ordi organization that is building for Ordi. Like none of that shit exists, right? Like so to me, these things are a plus, and then but for some people they look at these things like, oh, where's the team? Oh, where's the utility? And like the utility is that it's the first token on Bitcoin, the first money on Bitcoin. Its creation and its existence is good enough, and like people they want to like look like they want it to be more complicated than that. Like people
Mm-hmm.
want things to be more complex than they actually are, right? So, and that's why a lot of people miss out on things. Like, so for example, right now I seen a tweet from a guy where he posted like tr- he posted Ordi stats and track, and he was like, "Oh yeah, but there's only one out of the three that have utility, and it's track." You know, and then in my head, I'm just thinking, I'm like, bro, like track wouldn't even exist without Ordi. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
Ordi's utility is that this entire ecosystem now exists, and this is the first thing, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, like you like that's Ordi's utility. Like Ordi's utility is that it's the first money on Bitcoin. It's a first store of value on Bitcoin. Like these things are all utility. Like your utility is not only like, oh, the fastest transactions or the cheapest transactions, and yeah, these are a part of utility, but there's also other things that people with money look for, right? To utilize with their money. Like people want to park their money somewhere where it can earn a yield over time, or it can grow in value over time. You know, like this is a form of utility as well, right?
I also look for the
Yeah.
smartest network of investors, and the smartest people
Yeah.
are those that figure things out, before everyone
That's it.
else.
Yeah.
So the most sophisticated network of Bitcoin on-chain investors in BRC20 are Ordi investors.
Yeah, because they were the first, right?
And
Like the people.
you're connecting yourself with that most sophisticated network of investors when you buy Ordi. You're getting shit investors and really scammy people, in my opinion, when you go to XBT, because it was not a fair mint. It was like it was an ICO pretty much. You know what I mean? So I don't
Yeah, I
want to be
completely agree
associated
with
with
you.
those investors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I completely agree with you, right? That's why like even like even now, if you're like an institution, right? And you're looking at this entire space and you're like, oh, what do I do? Like majority of the institutions, when they bring in their money, it's gonna go to Ordi. You know, like that's gonna be the first thing that they allocate to, because it's gonna be the one that like it makes the most sense. You know, the first token on Bitcoin, the most liquid asset, the most volume, the most smartest people holding it, right? So they're gonna automatically allocate the Ordi the most, and then they're gonna allocate to other like higher risk stuff, right? That's on this layer, right? And then now, like one of the things, like now, like let me like let's say this, right? Like Ordi has become like the least riskiest, like lowest return like trade now in this entire space, right? Because it's the most surest bet now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, like obviously people will like the market, like people that like the people that are smart and they understand like how things grow, right? And they want to like follow one like like one set growth path, right? They'll just buy Ordi and they'll just put their wealth towards Ordi, and then it'll just grow over time, and they're not gonna have to worry about, oh, I gotta sell this, I gotta speculate on that, blah blah blah. But then now all these other people that are looking for even higher beta, like they have to go to Dogi and they have to go to like all these other things that are starting from zero, right? Because Ortiz 50,000 X is already behind it, but like something starting from zero, their multiples are still like yet to come if they're gonna be like a successful network effect, right? So that's why you see like a lot of people that didn't like let's say you bought Ordi at $1, so you're happy, right? Like and then like
Yeah.
I bought Ordi like I minted Ordi, and then I bought more at 33 cents, and at under $10 I bought a lot of Ordi too, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's because I was sure. I was like, okay, yeah, this thing's already established itself. I'd rather put my money here than speculate about all these hundreds of other things where it'll just be stress and like sleepless nights, and like it'll just hurt my head. You know what I'm saying? So I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's the thing I was trying to show to people where like, hey, if you like, what does it matter if you get 10 exponents or if you get one exponent? Like the answer at the end of the road is infinity. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if I have every token. I just needed that one token that I can plan my life around and then constantly add to it that I know, okay, this will remain the number one exponent, you know, and it has, and it will continue to remain the number one exponent, you know, and that finality, that level of conviction, like other people never had that, you know, and but I just
But
did,
wait,
like,
it's
yeah,
more than conviction, man.
yeah,
Because you earlier you used the word belief, now you're using the word conviction, and I think it's just a math function that
yeah,
you
it
were
is a
able
math
to
function.
see. It's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reality, dude. It's just
Yeah, yeah. So
reality.
it is reality. And then
Yeah.
yeah, so there was like four fundamental things that I saw in ordinals that I was like, okay, this is gonna like one, it was spontaneous, random, big bang on big BTC. Number two, this is final, right? Like if you don't believe this is final, you're wasting your time, you know. And then number three was okay, like every fair equity here that gets a network effect is going exponential. And then Ordi was the first money network effect on BTC, you know, and these these things all turned out to be true, you know, and because that's just the way I understood Bitcoin. I was like, okay, once you unleash something on this blockchain, any piece of data, right? Like it's unhackable, it's immutable, it will exist there till this thing dies, right? So if something can start growing here, that's like a virus or a cancer or like basically a network effect, like no one can stop it. You know, like that's the one thing that I was like looking at Ordi for. I'm like, okay, yo, bro, like if this thing gets a network effect, which it will, right? Like no one can stop this network effect, right? Like, so I'll give you an example. For in like trad companies or whatever, like companies can get a network effect, like BlackBerry, you know, and then central planning can fuck up that network effect, and then they have a negative network effect, and then something comes that replaces the incumbent. You know, at one point Blockbuster had a network effect, and then Blockbuster's network effect was eaten up by like Netflix, right? And that's what happens in centrally planned like companies, economies and stuff, where like something could have a network effect, and then bad central planning from the team or whatever can destroy that network effect. But over here, there's nothing to destroy the network effect, right? Like if we believe Ordi and BTC are going to exist perpetually and nothing can stop them, then the only thing that can happen is that this cancer keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? There's going to be
That's right.
no, yeah, there's going to be no centrally planned team that can stop this, that can like mismanage this,
I
right?
mean, the
That's
greatest threat to Ordi has been happening recently, which was the whole bullshit with the ocean mining. Maybe you want to
yeah,
talk about that.
yeah. So like I said, bro, like the market, to me, the market has already spoken volumes in terms of what it's going to do perpetually, right?
Hmm.
And now the people, like to me, the people that are like that are like what I realize about every market that goes exponential, there's like a portion or a cult of people that become like a doomsday cult that are like always calling for like, oh, it's gonna go to zero at any moment, it's gonna go to zero, it's gonna go to zero, right? Like we've been hearing that about the stock market our entire lives, like, oh shit, one day the stock market's gonna go to zero, it's gonna go to zero, right? But that doomsday scenario will not happen, and like basically that's what the price is indicating. The price is indicating that like ocean mining will fail before Ordi will fail. You get it? So there's more of a probability that ocean mining loses all their hash before Ordi fails, right? Because in my logic, Ordi and BTC have to exist perpetually. Otherwise, everything that I have is worth zero, right? And I can't wake up every day thinking that everything I have will be worth zero because it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's going to exist perpetually, right? So to me, like all this fear, like, so I tweeted it earlier today, right? Like fear is the risk, right? Like what we were sold as fear, like at the start of Ordi, like there was like all these other fears, and then now there's like all these other fears, and then despite that, like the exponent keeps going up, right? So it kind of tells you that like the fear is like the risk, and like the outcome of that fear is the reward that we're receiving, right?
Yo, yeah, yeah. Check this meme out.
Yeah.
This is literally what these guys are dealing with right here. You see that?
What is this? I see it. Yeah.
Ordinals or a bug. Be
Beyond
honest.
a fix is coming.
What is the
What is
fix?
your fix? What's that? What does it say? I'm like, what is it?
I'm going to beg miners to lose money.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly, right? It's like okay, so this is why like I feel like a big faction of crypto, they're like still stuck in their statist Marxist mentality where it's like they have a like they're like control freaks, and they have like a problem with like people like basically being free and like
Right.
exercising their freedom, right? Like
100%. Yes.
yeah, and then like right when you start like that's the number one thing, right? Like when right when you start talking about like banning things, or like a war on something, like the war on drugs or whatever, like you already lost. You
That's right.
lost. Yeah, like so you're anti-freedom movement, you're anti-capitalist. You want miners to basically subsidize like transactions that basically the network is saying are like less valuable at this moment in time, right? And they're waiting in line for the more valuable transactions to get through first because those people paid the higher fee, right? So to me, like this free market, and like it's gonna like the free market to me is gonna do its own thing, right? Like
Right
that's
on.
why, yeah, like to me, that's why like I was never at the start of Ordi, like there was never a thought in my mind that was like, oh yeah, well, something's gonna take this down, right? Because if something could take this down, then like Bitcoin is fucking worthless, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like if something could take down Ordinals protocol, where like like these devs like Luke or any of these other clowns can like take the shit down, then Bitcoin is completely useless.
Exactly.
You're literally asking for permission all over again from a group of people in a room, right? And that's not the point of Bitcoin. You know, that's not the point. It doesn't work like that. Right. So a lot of people, you gotta understand like how Bitcoin works. Like if Bitcoin can be stopped or censored, right? And a small group of people can do it, then you're better off existing in the fiat world. Right?
Yeah. At
Where
that point, that's
yeah,
for sure. At that
yeah,
point,
you're better
yes.
yeah, you have more protection in the fiat world, right? Like you there's like laws and it's not the Wild West. Like you can take people to court, you can like you can do all these other things, but yeah, like I don't worry about like these things have to exist perpetually or none of this works, right? And you cannot be on either side of that fence. You can't be like, oh yeah, one day it's gonna die, but I'm gonna be here for now, right? Like no, no, no. Like for me, this is final. Like Ordi is a final crypto trade. I don't want to even think about another coin outside of Ordi now because I could just keep adding to it and it will increase my savings over time. Because it's a network effect, it's an exponent on the BTC blockchain, right? And no one can stop it. That's the key thing. No one can stop it. If someone can stop this, then it's all worth zero. Everything is worth zero, right? But the market is not valuing it like that. The market is valuing it like no one's gonna stop it, you know?
Okay. So recently you've been tweeting things like everyone is looking for their own exponent. Um, can you explain to everyone what you mean by that?
Yeah, so basically, um, everyone in markets uh is essentially searching for cash, like extra, like infinite amount of cash. Like every market participant, whatever their actions are, whether they win or lose, at the end of the day, they're working to beat the infinite exponent called inflation. Right?
Right.
Yeah, so inflation is a compounding exponent, right? Like everything keeps going up higher in price, compounding year by year. And then on the other end is like the market participants that are all trying to find some sort of, like even Warren Buffett, like his exponent, it grows at like 10, 15 percent a year, right? So his doubling time is a lot longer than like the time of like someone like people like us who are like getting like really fast exponents who that's doubling time is like exponential, right? So what I mean by that is like basically at the end of the day, if you're part of markets, you're entering yourself in markets, you're risking something. Your goal is to become rich, like find something. Even if you're starting a business, the goal of a business is to like get a network effect where you technically have like infinite cash flow over time or till you die, or like a steady growth of cash flow, right? So like I just look at like everything, like anything is trying to do is like everyone's trying to like basically reach a tipping point and then go exponential, right? Like reach a tipping point and then go exponential, whether it's a business, whether you're trying to be famous, whether it's a crypto protocol, even things like Chat GPT, like think about it, like everything VCs invest in, they're trying to just capitalize off a network effect, right? Like their exponential growth in anything VCs do is like, oh yeah, we're gonna get exponential network effect, and then we're gonna get exponential equity from the exponential network effect, right? So to me, like now, that's what I see. Like now, when everyone is like, everyone faded Ordi, and then now everyone's like, oh shit, what's the next Ordi, right? So like they're all looking for like they're a new exponent from zero, right? Like they're all like, some people are hoping like Atomicals gives them their exponents, or like Ordinals on Litecoin gives them their exponent, or Ordinals on Dogecoin give them their exponent, right? And to me, like, there's nothing wrong with that because it's a free market. Like, I'm not the type of person that's gonna sit here and be like, no, no, you can't do what you want with your money. It's like, do whatever you want. But like
Yeah.
now but now they're like, the risks are like completely different. You know what I'm trying to say? So like, you want that steady growth, exponential growth path without thinking too much. You go to Ordi. Like you want to like be like super complex and like research and spend your time every day looking for something from zero, right? Then you go do that. But like, you have to also remember, like, you're these people, they're confound to like the size of the network, right? So
Right.
for example, yeah, so like Bitcoin has like $800 billion in liquidity, so that's what Ordi can tap into, right? Like Doji has like $13 billion in liquidity on Dogecoin, so like that's what Doji can tap into. So at one point um at one point, I think that we will see like Ordi just fucking rip everything. You know what I'm saying? Just like how like in like, how like when all like when Bitcoin is like just ripping it, and like all the alts just bleed against Bitcoin, right? So I think that at some point when like the market gets a little bit more mature, and then like the market realizes that, oh shit, like, like Ordi is gonna always be the biggest and the number one, like it's just gonna rip. Like it's gonna be the same thing that I saw back in like 2013, where there was like Peercoin, Feathercoin, Litecoin, Terracoin, WorldCoin, all these coins that were like marketing themselves as like competitors to Bitcoin, or like as adjacent chains to Bitcoin, and then they all had their pump in 2013, and then like that euphoria, starts fucking with your thoughts, where you're like, oh shit, yo, Litecoin is silver, and fucking Feathercoin and Peercoin are more environmentally friendly, and all these like sales pitches. And
Right.
then what ended up happening was Bitcoin destroyed all of them. So like,
Right.
so you would have been way better off just keeping all your money in Bitcoin at the start, right? And like waiting for the market to get way more mature before like credible competitors came out. You know what I'm saying? So right now there will be I think it's probably gonna happen sooner than later, but like there is gonna be like basically like the amount of Bitcoin that's like leaking into Ordi, like the leak is getting bigger and bigger, and then the dam is just gonna burst, and then boom, all the Bitcoins will just like Ordi's just gonna like soak them all up, and then it's just gonna, like, how like when Ordi had his rip from like 3 to like 70, and like it just left everyone in awe, and like
Hmm.
everything just dumped versus it, right? Like it's gonna keep doing that, and then the moments where it's like chilled out is gonna be like alt season for like all the other ordinals layers and whatever, right? So yeah, like at the end of the day, you wanna be involved in ordinals with the least risk, the least amount of thinking, the most simple thing. You're just gonna buy Ordi, you know, and then it's gonna go out like over time. It's gonna be like a stable, or like not as stable, but like a safe store of value over time, just like how Bitcoin was, like how BTC was, right? So like that's why I kept telling people, I'm like, wow, this is like seeing Bitcoin 2.0, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, man. I have a real hard time coming up with arguments against Ordi. I really do, guys. I really do. The closest argument that I would say is like legit against Ordi would be the one that we've already talked about here. Army has already explained it. It's the argument that I've heard from before, like from the time we were inscribing, which is the argument of utility. That, oh, but it doesn't have as much utility. What can you do with just a JSON file? This is nothing, And the other aspect is, well, BTC can't scale, so how would you ever be able to even have like um a thriving DeFi, a thriving on-chain marketplace on BTC, given that it like the blockchain is so fucking stagnant and costly. What are your answers to all of that?
Sorry, bro. My bad. I was just putting my phone on charge. I missed the last part. Can you repeat
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So the best arguments that I've heard against Ordi have been arguments around the area of utility. And we talked about it briefly, but one of the arguments is BTC won't be able to scale fast enough. You hear people like Jack Lew make this argument that they're going to have to get together and figure out Bitcoin scaling on BTC, and that they just won't be able to do it fast enough, that something else can take off on Doge or BSV that can supplant everything that BTC is trying to do. That's one argument that I hear. Another argument alongside of that is that until BTC can scale, then Ordi is nothing more than just a store of value right now. So what is your take on these arguments that people like Jack Lew make regarding Ordi?
I
And
think that
maybe you can clarify his arguments even better, since you've recently have gotten into conversations with him on the lack of utility of Ordi.
yeah, so um to me, it's like, what utility are you looking for, right? Because for me, like I've started using Ordi like a checking account. You know what I'm saying? So anytime I earn money or I earn a profit, I take, after paying my bills, I take a portion of that profit and I put it in Ordi, right? So the utility for Ordi for me is that, hey, this is gonna, like, going into the long term. This is my store of value where I can park my money. It will grow over time exponentially, and that's the utility that I'm getting out of Ordi, right? So you like, is that, to me, like, is that not utility for
No, it
humans,
is. Yeah, it
right?
is.
To have an asset that's beating inflation over time, like a network effect, right? So yeah, like, so to me, I think like the disconnect in crypto is like, one, I feel like people don't understand economics properly. Like they think that economics is like this utopian abundance uh based science or something, where like everyone on earth can be rich and everyone on earth can be well off and classes won't exist, and like it just sounds like a socialist dream world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then for me, I believe in scarcity, right? So I think um like Bitcoin, like, think about it, right? Like when you're in a city, right? Like, and you go to like a gated community in like Los Angeles or New York or in Toronto, right? Like no one, like in that gate, like the cost of like accessing that gated community is way higher than like a project community or something. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Of
Like the
course,
cost,
yes.
yeah. And the reason for this is because of like who lives there, the land scarcity, like the size, the size, the how the houses are built, the size of the property, the luxury, and all this stuff, right? And then like, so to me, like, we even talked about it back in the day, right? Like a lot of people think like BTC just has to like die, right? Because it can't support the entire world. But like BTC could just be like a gated community for like rich people. You get it? Like basically, um, it's just like the same like class system that we see in the real world, like how economics breaks down in the real world, where like majority of the liquidity uh in like the city's property goes to like the richest areas, right? Like the Beverly Hills, the OCs, in Toronto there's Bridle Path, right? Like this is where all the richest land is. That's where the land is the most valuable, right? But no one in a city is ever like, oh my God, it's not fair that, oh, like Beverly Hills exists. Why can't I access Beverly Hills? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like no
I
one in the
understand completely.
yeah,
Yes.
no one in the real world ever says that, yo, it's not fair that I can't afford to eat at that restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like they just don't eat there. They go eat McDonald's, right?
Yeah, no, and you're
Yeah,
100% right. I think a lot
yeah,
of big blockers make the mistake of they look at Bitcoin and they're still fighting for that Bitcoin that they know Bitcoin could be, capable of being a very abundant Bitcoin. But the truth is that BTC is right now not that. BTC is this elitist place because they turned it into that. It's an elitist place. You are very smart to embrace that reality. You understand what I'm saying? You
yeah.
embrace
Because
that reality.
yeah,
Other
so
people don't.
because a lot of people they're trying to they're trying to turn the 99% into the 1%, right? And then I was like, I'm the 99%, but I just got to become the 1%. You get what I'm trying to say? So like my
Mhm.
mind state wasn't like, oh, I gotta save the whole world and like save the 99% and then make them like basically like create like this fucking equal world, right? Because the world is not equal. Like that's one of the
Right.
fundamental, yeah, like the world is not equal, right?
Correct. Correct.
So
Yes.
for me, as a person that was like part of the 99%, my mindset was that like I gotta like basically turn things around for my family where I become the 1%. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I can't save every single fucking person. Like I try to tell as many people about Ordi as possible under $1,
Right.
yelling at them, crying at them, telling them, yo, like the urgency, you guys don't understand. You guys don't understand. Like, come on, like guys, like you guys have to take this opportunity seriously. And majority of the people did not listen. You know what I'm saying? So I've already had the experience of like over 10 years of like telling people like at the start, like I remember I used to tell like I remember 2013, 2014, my friends that were like MBA students at like the best business schools, like I would go up to them, I'd be like, yo, have you guys heard of Bitcoin? And then they would like look at me and then they'd be like, they would laugh and then they'd be like, oh, like no offense, but like I'll never touch Bitcoin ever in my life, and then like
Ah,
4 years later, they were all part of the 2017 bull run in Bitcoin, and they were all buying Bitcoin, and they were all like part of Bitcoin because they couldn't stop the greed from taking over, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, like, yeah, uh,
I hear
fuck,
you,
what,
man.
yeah,
I agree with you. I
yeah,
lived through the same thing.
yeah.
Um,
So like, even when I was telling people about Ordi, like in my heart, I'm like, wow, like this chance to like basically get an infinite cash function will never come again,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I had the same experience, man.
yeah,
Telling
because
people and no one would listen to me
no one
about
would listen.
Ordi.
Yeah. And then it's like the exact same behavior we experienced at the start of Bitcoin, right? Like in hindsight, it will all be obvious. Like in hindsight, in the
Right.
moment, it is not obvious, but in hindsight, everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I heard about Ordi when it was, like 30 cents or $1 and this and that, right? But
Hmm.
it's just hindsight. Like in hindsight, Bitcoin is so obvious, BTC is so obvious. The fact that it's
Right.
49, it's like anyone that bought Bitcoin at like 150, $200, we already knew one day this thing will be like $1 million or 100,000 or 50,000. Like that was like the thing. That's what we understood about it. Like, yo, this thing's an exponent. It will have a network effect. You know what I'm saying? So now with Ordi, same thing. This thing's an exponent. It will have a network effect. It's the first money on Bitcoin. And people didn't understand it.
Yeah, they
You could
don't. They
really,
didn't. I
yeah,
tried so hard, man. Even with people close to me
yeah,
and like close to me that overall they're very smart people in
yeah,
crypto. Dude, they faded it completely, and I made the mistake of kind of seeking validation in them. Like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm just saying, man, salute and seriously, man, congratulations because you deserve it, man. Like capitalism and profit seeking is a lonely road, and you explained very well how this has been a very lonely journey for you.
yeah.
And the
Because
truth is
bro, I
that
used to, bro, like,
capitalist
yeah,
capitalism is a lonely road, bro. It's
yeah,
just
you
the
have to
name of the
take it
game.
in, right? Like,
It's
I
what it
have,
is, man.
I have funded businesses out of like my own pocket in crypto, where like I was running out of like cash to like live, but like I was still funding the crypto business and then I failed at it. Like ECAT, I funded out of my own pocket. I didn't like it didn't work out because like no one used BSV, right? So after a while you burn money, you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore, right? And then I had like this, I even had like a staking service. Like I had a staking service using masternodes before, like a year or two before like staking became like mainstream, like basically like Coinbase, all these people had their staking services, right? And then that didn't work out either. And then so all these things that I did, and I even had like one time I had like a VC deal and that didn't work out either, you know? So it was like every time like I had a team around me or, you know, in the space where I was working with other people, for some reason, things just didn't go my way, you know? And then
Yeah.
now that, uh, like, and then it's funny because I applied for jobs in crypto at like these big companies and like no one replied to me, right? And then, like, and then basically the last 10 years, I was just arbing Bitcoin OTC, you know, just, you know, like -5 +5, -5 +5. And I had that going for me streaming Bitcoins. And then with Ordinals, I was like, damn, finally a risk on economy for BTC that anyone in the world can be a part of from their bedroom and no one can stop you. You know what I'm saying? Like that was what was needed for the sovereign individual to like ultimately be unleashed, where like, okay, now we're holding equity on that's secured by BTC, right? No one can take it from us, no one can stop it, and we can go exponential completely on our own. You know what I'm saying? We don't need a company, nothing. And that's why, like, the moment I realized this, that's why I turned off Ordinals.computer, because I realized I'm like, yo, it doesn't matter how hard I work at this thing. This business that I'm trying to grow or whatever, or like this Ordinals.computer thing that like was like an explorer at that point for inscriptions, like it will not return the exponents on Bitcoin. You know what I'm trying to
Right
say?
on.
And I understood the opportunity cost right away. So I was like, okay, why even waste money on this thing anymore, paying a dev, paying monthly expenses when I could just put that money in Ordi, right? So
So true,
yeah,
man.
and that's why I was like, yo, I want to be that one person that proves you could do it without a company, without a team, without any any sort of outside influence, and just be a sovereign individual and unlock an exponent and like reach, like basically unlock like infinite cash, you know? And I proved it, right? And to me, that's like that was what mattered to me, was like that was a promise of like what I was able to do on Bitcoin, right? And obviously most people like would faded it, but that was the promise of Bitcoin to everybody.
Amen, brother. Hey, preach it, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome, dude. Because
yeah,
that okay, so let me follow that logic forward. Do
yeah.
you think that promise is still available to everyone from your
It it
perspective?
it is, right? But now it takes a longer time, right? So for example, like I'll give you an example, right? Let's say I had nothing right now. Like let's say
Mhm.
I was starting from zero, right?
Yeah.
And like I was like a person that was like antisocial, didn't didn't want to work with people, or didn't want to work for a company or have a boss or whatever. Like I would just go drive Uber, right? And then whatever money I could save from Uber, I would buy Ordi with it every month, right? And in like 4 to 5 years, I'll be fine. You know what I'm trying to say? It's
Mm-hmm.
just that, like, even in like 2 years, right? Like say you're starting from zero right now. You're like, yo, I'm gonna go hard driving Uber like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Like I'm gonna
Right.
go hard at this every day. You know, like save $1,000, 1,500 a month. You know, because at the end of the day, it all depends on how hard you work too, right? So I'm gonna save 1,000, $1,500 every month, stack Ordi for the next year. You know, by December 2025, you could potentially be fucking rich as fuck. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like so for me, um, it is still available. It's just that do people have the foresight and the patience now? Because now obviously, like think about it. You know, when we were talking about like $70,000 Ordi, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
50, yeah, so 50,000 X is behind us now. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
Correct.
majority of the multiple is behind us now. We are now closer to 70,000 than we are to zero, or like whatever the
Yeah.
mint cost was.
So
Yeah,
guys, it
yeah.
costs $1 to mint 1,000 Ordi. That was it, right? To
Yeah,
inscribe a
something like
thousand.
that. Yeah, 1,000
Right?
Ordi or something.
$1
One
to get
dollar,
1,000 Ordi, and
1,000 Ordi,
one Ordi right now is for around 50 bucks.
50 bucks. Yeah,
So you're
right. So that's
dealing.
50,000x almost.
50,000x. Fuck, man.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, yo, this is the greatest trade ever in human history. It was even more greater than the time, like Bitcoin in 2013. A lot of its multiple, like when I found it, it was like 200-300 USD. So like a lot of its multiple had already been like, it had already been past that. You get it? Like Ordi, we found it even earlier, you know, like it was like finding Bitcoin at like a penny or $1. You know what I'm saying? Like you found, or like you bought Ordi at $1. So imagine you could buy BTC for $1. Right? So that's how I was looking at it. I'm like, damn, like I'm literally getting a second chance at this shit all over again, you know?
Yeah. And you got
Yeah,
a lot of haters, bro. Like it's crazy how like all of a sudden you specifically, you got a bunch of haters, dude. And I have my fair share of haters.
yeah,
But holy shit, did I see them come out for you, dude. And a lot of it
yeah.
has to do because they're pissed off. You know why they're pissed off? They're pissed off because honestly, dude, it's just envy. Their mind did not see what you saw, and they get pissed off and frustrated because you saw. So then they try to nitpick on different things. They start attacking your personality, but that's all bullshit because at the end of the day, your mind was oriented to seeing this from a mathematical perspective. Do you know the difference between like a fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence?
No idea. You know,
Okay.
like the thing, like even okay, so I'll tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, as we speak, right, I still think I'm the dumbest person. And like even when was first got into ordinals, right, like I still believed I'm the dumbest person. And even right now, I still believe I'm the dumbest person. And I don't even know how to write a line of code. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just the experiences that I had throughout this entire industry. It was like, you know how like they say like luck is like when hard work meets preparation. You know,
Right.
it was just like, yeah, it was just like that one point where it, like all just clicked for me all at once. You know, and like the 10 years I put in, like I finally reached my tipping point. You know, where
Dude,
it was like,
every
yeah,
genius that I know says the same thing, Army. They
yeah,
say what I do, everybody can do. So you're not alone, bro. No, no, dude,
yeah,
you're special, dude, and you're where you're at, and you were able to accomplish what you did because you. Okay, why aren't there 5 different armies?
yeah,
Right. Okay. So fluid intelligence is the ability to see patterns in real time
yeah,
and to deal with the market. It like to calibrate different factors in real time and to know
yeah,
exactly how to like now you're talking about like being an artist, how to be an artist in real time and move in real time. That's fluid intelligence. Crystallized intelligence is when someone needs to have experience and it's like book knowledge, right? Like the guys that like do everything by the book, right? So a guy that has a lot of crystallized intelligence, you present a guy that is acting in the moment doing with fluid intelligence, they wouldn't understand him. I deal with guys that have a lot of crystallized intelligence, and when I come in with, because I can be fluid, when I come in with my fluid mind, they don't get me, bro. It's like I'm talking Greek to them. They don't understand shit.
yeah,
You are interesting as fuck to me because you come in, you have fluid intelligence, but you're also very much, you apply mathematics in real time. I've never seen that before. You apply mathematics in real time in a way that I've never seen anyone do it. So what you know and what you perceive is almost like I've always seen math as like a third eye, where you can see things
yeah.
mathematically.
I
You
feel like
see
math,
shit mathematically, bro.
yeah, math is like something that's like in your heart more
Mhm.
so that like you could like I didn't write down formulas or like do any like was sitting on a piece of paper writing down like complex calculus and stuff. Like all I understood was like, yo, a network effect on something that can't be stopped, right? Like a network effect that can't be stopped, right? Like what is the outcome of a network effect that can't be stopped, right? The answer is very simple. You know what I'm saying? Like the answer is infinity, you know? Like a network effect is an exponent, and if it's on Bitcoin, it can't be stopped. So logically, it will trend towards infinity. You know what I'm saying? Because the exponents trend towards infinity, right? So like to me, yeah, like it's like to me, math is more of like a thing that's in your heart and like in your gut and like in your intuition, right? And like being able to like assess probabilities and risk and all these things. Like I feel like it's more of like an intuition thing because like there's probably people that are like way better at like advanced mathematics than me, but like I found this like one simple piece of math, exponents, which are network effects, right? And then I applied it on Bitcoin, and it ended up being exactly how I thought it would be, which
So
is, yeah,
fucking genius, bro. Like,
yeah,
I overheard some haters,
yeah,
trying to like get in on you,
yeah.
and a word from my dad who passed away. Like
Rest in
his
peace.
advice to me really hit me hard. Listening to you, my dad would tell me all the time. He's like, son, some people work so hard that they forget about making money.
Yeah.
And you're the fucking example of what my dad used to tell me. Because there's people that work so hard, they're building shit,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
they forget
Yeah,
about making money. You
yeah.
have the math in your mind and you just fucking deal with the market like Neo, pa pa pa, and you make more money. And it's funny as shit that like you ended up getting a lot of haters, and having haters is nothing more than a sign of success. You know that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
it is
And
just
like to me, it's like that's why like I'm so like in real life I have so many good friends and like it's such a good social circle that like I don't seek it on the internet. You know what I'm trying to say? Because like a
good.
lot of guys in crypto, like their friends are like friends they made on the internet, like in their town or in their city,
Mm-hmm.
like they don't really fuck with the people around them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But like me, I was an introverted person in real life. Like I was pretty social, like I have a good social life, like I have lots of friends. So I don't, to me, like if someone's talking shit about to me on the internet, like it doesn't really bother me, because I don't hang out with you in real life. Like it doesn't matter. Like I just turn the screen off, like you can't like it's like yeah, like it's not gonna affect me. Like I have a strong mind, like as you can see that like I have a strong mind because no matter what anyone threw at me at the start of this journey, I was just like, no, 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 you guys are all wrong. I'm right, and I'm sticking to it. And that requires like a strong mind because everyone else is like trying to like that's what I realized that like so before, okay, so I'll give you an example. Like before in the past, like in my crypto journey, there were periods and moments where I was like where I had attained like I wouldn't say an infinite cash function, but like I had gotten to a position that was like really well off, right? But then like I would notice that like outside noises and like other people's egos would get in the way of that.
Hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like I would start listening to like other people and what they're thinking and what they're saying and like doing things that they would recommend and then it wouldn't end up working out for me and I would end up like losing and like going back to like a previous position. But like this time I was like, no. Like at the start of Ordi, like people would come up to me, they were like, oh, what do you think of Soul? What do you think of Link? And all these things. And then I would just tell them like, I'm like, why are you focused on that? You know what I'm trying to say? Like in the past, I would might have been like, oh yeah, let me put some money in Soul, let me put some money in Link. But this time I was like, no, like you guys should listen to me now. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I'm not gonna listen to you anymore because in the past when I did listen to you or when I took advice from you, like it didn't work out for me, So this time I was like very steadfast on like, yo, trust your intuition, trust your gut. You put in the work. You've been here for 10 years. You got on chain before everyone. You basically got like every single thing that you did in Bitcoin. Like I did it like 4 years before anyone else did it. You know what I'm saying? Before it became mainstream. So this
Big
time I was like, okay,
blocker.
yeah, like I would like bro, like I don't hate on BSV people. I'm just like it's just that like sometimes the market it disconnects from what your beliefs are and then like it's like people in BSV always like to say the market is wrong and they're right, but it's like at some point if you don't have a big ego, you accept what the market is
Of
telling you.
course.
Instead of like constantly like you said, like your dad said, like some people work really hard but make no money, right? But that's because they think that oh the market is wrong and they're right. And
He said,
yeah.
some people work, he said,
Oh,
son,
extremely
some
hard.
people work
Yeah.
so hard that they forget about
That
making
make
money.
money
They
exactly, and
forget
that
about making money.
yeah, and to me, that is the whole point of like the whole goal of like like beating inflation or beating the market. It's so you can have free time with your family, with your kids. Like to me, I'd rather like play Spider-Man with my son and my daughter and like play PlayStation 5 than like be searching for another fucking BRC 20 or a piece of art or something, like, or like, like play, like go to karate with my kids or wrestle with them or play hockey with them, skate with them, like I'd rather do shit like that. And that's what I've been doing instead of like sitting on a computer all day and like just being lost in a computer, and
Right.
that was the whole, yeah, that's the whole point of like getting wealth, right? It's like freeing up time for yourself and your family and making sure that people around you are not in debt. They don't go into debt. They don't have to take debt for school and then debt for a mortgage and then debt for a car and then just debt, 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 and then constantly be stuck paying interest, and then be stuck in that, right? So that was my life goal was, like figure out how to like find an exponent that gets you like free time essentially,
Nice.
and yeah, and that's what happened.
So the
Yeah,
fucking badass, bro. So there's a
yeah,
little army of youth watching this right now.
yeah,
He's you, but he's just younger. What do you
yeah,
tell him? Help him. What is the next? What's a good exponent for him? Little army of youth is watching this right now.
yeah. So to me, like at this point, we're still early enough to where, like if you're just a young kid, and you don't know, you don't want to go to school, or like you feel like school's not your calling, and you're and like you don't know what to do in life. All you really need to do at this point is just like, even if you're like, if I was a kid right now and I had a job and I didn't have to pay the rent and I didn't have like a lot of responsibility on me, whatever money I was saving, I would just put it in Ordi, and I would just, that's all I would do. Like that, and I would do that every I would do that every month with my savings. I would just buy Ordi because, bro, like one of the things about Bitcoin, like when I got on, like when I understood about it, was like Bitcoin was supposed to be like this monetary system where it didn't matter if you were a doctor, it didn't matter if you were an Uber driver, it didn't matter if you worked at McDonald's, like if you partook, if you, like got involved in it, right? Over time, that it was supposed to unlock more free time for you, right?
Right.
So yeah, so to me, like to me, having free time is like the most important thing in my life. Like being able to do whatever I want whenever I want. And
Right.
yeah, so if that's the most important thing in your life and you just want a simple path to a life like that, like just grind, just work, grind, stack on-chain equity, and on-chain equity is like Ordi, Bitfrogs, Bitmaps, like anything that you see has gone exponential, it's probably just gonna go even more higher. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's like limited, it has no inflation, if it's like hard capped, it's on chain. At the end of the day, no one can stop it. Like no one can stop uh Bitcoins from flowing into Bitcoin frogs. No one can stop Bitcoin from flowing into Sats. No one can stop Bitcoins from flowing into Ordi. So these are all exponents at the end of the day, right? So
Right on.
my advice, yeah. So my advice to a younger version of me is that stay on chain. Like you could still like if you're younger than me, you can take more risk. Like I'm at the
True.
point in my life. Yeah, if you're younger than me, you can take more risk on other exponents. But for me, I wanted to simplify myself down to one exponent, and have one clear vision and one tunnel vision of my life till the day I die now. And I have that now,
That's
and
awesome, man.
yeah,
Congrats.
and yeah, thank you. And that was my personal goal for myself. Like I didn't, that's why like, like you see, like, like all like think about what we did, right? And we didn't go to a single conference. What I'm saying? We weren't up on a single stage,
Right.
right? We didn't open a single company, right? We didn't network with any people aside from like us talking to each other on the internet. But like it wasn't like we were on phone calls, insider trading, like trying to co-op, like swindle people or anything, nothing, bro. And like these people had huge like Art Basel, like D Gods is having a party and there was BTC Miami and all these things that like people were like I guess looking for like clout chasing things,
Right.
right? Yeah, and like we proved that you didn't need any of that. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
right.
yeah, Ordi is the biggest thing on Ordinals now. And none of us were at a conference, on a stage, in back rooms, making deals, nothing. It was purely based off our knowledge about Bitcoin, about network effects, and applying it on chain. You
And you
know?
know what, dude? I get hate too because I was
Yeah.
there with you. I wasn't. Your mind was, like I said, you were. It's almost like your mind was both designed and prepared for that moment. So that's why
Yes.
you led the way, and you were
Yeah.
able to even articulate the language to explain it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking about exponential functions, I was right behind you, and I made the mistake of seeking validation from people around me. That's where I fucked up.
No, it's all
But it's
good. You
okay.
got
But
it
it's
early.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thing is that my question to you is, do you therefore see that BTC will find a way to scale on chain? That's the logical conclusion that I'm reading into you. So is that honestly how you feel, that BTC will find a way to scale on chain eventually?
Um, I don't know, bro. I
Because
can't.
because the logical
Yeah.
conclusion is not based on a belief, not
Yeah.
based on a conviction. It's a
Yeah.
mathematical formula here. We're talking about a mathematical formula
Yeah. So
that
you have to. Yeah.
you and I both know that the only way forward for BTC is to logically follow the fact that it grows on chain, and Ordi's leading that.
Yeah.
So will BTC eventually scale on chain?
So I think this conversation is like of more of like a power dynamic, which I was tweeting about like right before we had this conversation,
Yes.
where
Okay, cool.
so to me, let's put it this way. If the early minters of Ordi become very wealthy, right? They will have a lot of influence over what happens next,
Nice.
right? And they might even have arguably more influence and power than the old guard, right? And I feel like once the old guards repeat, like now that people see, okay, Ordinals is here, right? They see that, oh wow, like they see its potential, the network effect, all these things, right? And more and more people are being awoken, or they're becoming more awake to the fact that like the whole old guards narrative of Bitcoin was completely wrong, right? So to me, the success of this on-chain layer is slowly shifting power away from like Ocean Mining, Jack, Luke Dash Jr., and it's shifting it more towards the people that are might be the future wealthiest people in the world, right? So if so the way I look at it is that probabilistic thinking, it is more likely that BTC can it is more likely and possibly easier that BTC raises its block size, right? Than like this magical event of like Black Swan event that like everything, all the hash just goes to BS3 one day, right? So probability wise, I would bet that BTC raises block size before like or BTC scales in some way before like all the hash goes to like BSV or something, right? And the reason I have to believe this is because my theory only works if BTC and Ordi exist perpetually, right?
Wait,
Like the
one sec.
network. Yeah,
But wait, Army. Remember, we're
yeah,
not talking about belief. We're not talking about conviction. We're talking about reality. And
yeah,
all of your logical conclusions are sound mathematics.
yeah,
You arrived to this conclusion, and you've been proven correct because you've been following not your intuition, but mathematical logic. So
yeah,
mathematically, you're right. There's two choices now. Either BTC scales on chain, or all of the hash power and infrastructure gets consumed by BSV. So this is where we have the two most influential people in Bitcoin right now that point to two logical futures. They're both just as logical. Are you and Jack Liu? Now I'm telling the whole world right now that that's the truth. Jack Lew says that it is more likely for hash power and infrastructure to migrate to BSV. You are saying that it is more logical that BTC scales on chain. So
Yeah.
it's almost like what I'm in the middle, and I'm like, why not both?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go both. Ordi BSV,
Bro.
Ordi BSV. That's
Yeah.
me. That's me.
Yeah. So yeah, like bro, just the way the way the market is signaling things, you know what I'm saying? Like the way Ordinals grew so naturally, and like just how the network effect was so natural and not forced. You know what I'm saying? Like natural effects are not like natural like network effects. They're not something that's forced. Like you don't have to sell them to people, right? Like Ordi was gonna go exponential whether I existed or I didn't exist, or whether I told anybody or I didn't tell anyone. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like it didn't need a marketing team or effort or anything. You know what I'm trying to say? So in terms of what the market is telling me, the market is telling me that it is more likely that all this shit is successfully happens on BTC. You know what I'm trying to say? Because these network effects have already kicked off. They've already been successful. They are not going to zero, right? Because remember, if BTC and Ordi are going to zero, then there's no point of this shit, right? Like I'm wasting my time,
No,
right?
no, 100%. And
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
ever
yeah,
going to go to zero. Like, that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing you got to
So
understand.
yeah,
Ordi will never go to zero. BTC will never cease to exist. Why? Because the BTC chain that will live on forever will be an on-chain economy one. And us big blockers are going to maintain it, even if it's just for the sake of it being a cool museum. You see what I'm saying? If we go the Jack Lew way.
yeah.
But
So the thing about like so one of the things that I was taught in finance, in the finance world or whatever, was like predictions without a timeline, right? Like predictions without a timeline, like they're just like you can't like base your like you can't base your life on them. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's why to me, I gave everyone a clear timeline. I'm like, from the time Ordi was created by December 2025, that is my timeline for this thing, this exponent to go crazy. And in this time period is when a majority of this exponent's growth will happen, right? Like in terms of price growth, right? With BSV, like like I don't have a like Jack hasn't given me or anyone a timeline of this Black Swan event. And another thing is that just like if like I don't believe that like Black Swan events will happen is like if like everyone is waiting one to happen. Like Black Swan events are supposed to be something that's like completely out of left field for like most people, just like how Ordinals was, right? Like Ordinals was like completely random, just popped up out of nowhere. No one, I'm pretty sure no one in the world even knew it was gonna come except for like our Rod and like the people that were working on it, you know, and then it just popped up out of nowhere, just like how Bitcoin popped up out of nowhere. So like to me, it's like you know, like we're all like BSVers, it's like a huge community all watching for this one like Black Swan event, which is kind of like similar to like, you know, like Mayans 2012, you know, like, oh, the world's gonna end, and then they're all watching for it to happen or whatever, and then it doesn't happen, and then like they just push the date further and further down. So I feel like BSVers are kind of in that boat right now, right? We're like it's like I'm wondering like when is it gonna happen? Because like I'm not worried. Like to me, I'm not worried about either or events because like I know how to like successfully maneuver and
yeah,
yeah,
just
like
go
I already know
both.
how on-chain works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like yeah, so to me, I'm not really worried about that. But like if you're just following what the price is telling you and what the market is telling you and what the trends are telling you, like the real exponential trends, they're saying essentially that this on-chain thing is going to work on BTC, right? And
100%. And
yeah.
that's why the old guard of BTC, the laser eyes, the small-minded, small
Yeah,
blockers, they're pissed off and they want to cut off ordinals with this ocean mining BS.
yeah,
Now they even want to get the feds involved with some BS. I don't know what the fuck is. They're scared,
yeah. Like all these things that
right?
they're doing, they're like to me, I don't even. They're irrelevant to me. They're just like tools to fuel the fire and like just fear. And you know, like if I had to worry about these things every day, then I would be like selling my Ordi and like you know just diversifying into like land and other stuff. But
Right.
yeah, but like to me, like that's not the case here. Like I feel like if Bitcoin is truly this unhackable, immutable, unstoppable ledger, then all these battles that are happening right now, like they're all going to be irrelevant in the long run, you know. And
The truth is that they're scared for what you
yeah,
said.
the laser eye maxis don't understand that, like, bro, the people that own Ordi, right? They're earning Bitcoins a lot faster than you can even mine them.
100%, and they're all,
Yeah,
and guess what? They're all big blockers like us, BS.
exactly.
And they
So
go
the
fuck
power
themselves because we're gonna eat it up no matter what.
yeah,
We're
and the
already in
thing is
here.
that let's say me, you, Jack, a couple other people hypothetically in the long run become like the largest holders of BTC, right? Bro, we're gonna be the guys that are funding all the future development and all the future influence and all that stuff, right? So that's what I mean. Like even the power of like the old guard, right? Like they're losing their power exponentially. You know, like they're losing their influence exponentially. Like now people are like people don't act like no one gives a fuck about what Samson Mo thinks. You know what I'm saying? People care about what like Jack thinks or what I think or what like you think or like, you know, like people that are like ahead on this economy, on the future of the world. Like people care about what those people think, right? Like no one cares what all these fucking core developers and like, you know, what they believe or what they think, right? And it's going to happen increasingly. And at one point, think about it, right? Like Blockstream only exists because they're funded by fiat, right? Like every time they run out of money, they go and like beg for more money for a raise. You get it? And then like people like me and you, we're like fucking exponentially growing our Bitcoins. So at one point, like what's going to happen is like companies like Blockstream, we're going to have more Bitcoins than them. You know what I'm saying? Because you're on an exponential function that's priced in Bitcoins, right? So yeah, so at one point when the large Ordi holders, like Ordi has like 2.1 million Bitcoin in it, you know, or it has like 5 million Bitcoin market cap, like BTC, right? And then the early holders are sitting on like thousands of Bitcoins, right? Like Ordi holders, then that power shift will happen. Because even back in March, I was telling people, I'm like, listen, guys, the future funding of this entire fucking space will come from like the early adopters of Ordi. You know what I'm saying? Like the future of what happens in Bitcoin is not really like who holds Bitcoin anymore. It's about like, to me, the future of Bitcoin is going to be decided by like who holds the most Ordi, you know? And because the people that hold the Ordi, they're basically earning Bitcoin, like whatever amount of Ordi you have is like a black hole for Bitcoin, like a personal black hole. You get it? So like over time, our collective wealth will be like greater than like Luke Dash Jr. or Blockstream or any of these other people, right? And as you can see already, remember how I was like, yo, I tweeted, I was like, you know, like for the people that believe BSV is the real Bitcoin, like the Ordinals market cap has already exceeded 21 million Bitcoins, right? Yeah, so it's like I expect that to happen in BTC as well, where like the on-chain economy, like the world, like the economy of the on-chain world should exceed 21 million Bitcoin in market cap, you know, and that's BTC, right? So the level of power shift that's about to happen, right? Like basically we're like, you're gonna notice it. Like, I think we're like maybe a 10x or 20x for Ordi away from like a huge power shift happening.
Honestly,
You know?
this can happen with this conversation.
Yeah.
This conversation can give us 20x easily. Easily.
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. So they don't understand like why, okay, so for example, right? Like why would at this point in time, why would someone listen to like Samson Mo over like you or me or Jack? You know what I'm saying? It makes no fucking sense. Like what can Samson Mo provide you? What can he give you?
Lies and dead ends, that's all they provide.
That's all they can do.
Lies and
Exactly.
dead ends. Look at the Lightning Network.
And like a few months ago, like Samson was like,
dead.
Ordinals will die in a few months or it'll be irrelevant. And then in my head, I was just like, you making that statement goes to show that you don't understand Bitcoin, because anything that starts happening on Bitcoin, you cannot stop it, no matter what you try.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
100%,
and that,
dude.
yeah, and that is the key fundamental principle for Bitcoin, like to even be valuable, is that no one can stop this exponent. You know what I'm saying? And just like no one can stop the Ordi exponent, and no one can stop the Bitfrogs exponent. You know, so these people are literally like people that are like paddling against the wave, you know, and the wave is gonna fucking kill them, right? And the power shift will happen for sure because power at the end of the day is like is tied to wealth, right? So once the Ordi people go more exponential and we're all sitting on like 40 million, 50 million, some people will have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that has been earned on this layer, right? Or thousands of Bitcoins, right? At that point, we could start pushing our weight. You know, we could start funding things that we want to happen on Bitcoin, right? Like we can start influencing things that we want to happen, right?
I mean,
So
without us
yeah,
doing that, they're already copying us, right? With the BitVM. I wasn't expecting that shit. All of a sudden, they're saying Bitcoin's turn complete. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. I remember there was a guy named Bitcoin Computer, because I remember Bitcoin Computer. When I first heard of Bitcoin Computer, I was like, oh, that's cool. They're emphasizing the computer aspect of Bitcoin, the bit
yeah,
aspect of Bitcoin, and
yeah,
so like all of a sudden they know deep down that the only way to compete in this world is by expanding Bitcoin's computational power and on-chain development. And
yeah.
now all the top BTC developers are like discovering that Bitcoin's turned complete. I had the main dude behind that project, Super Testnet, the main dev, sitting down here on this studio with Xiaowei Liu of S-Script, and he literally said that he takes all of his inspiration from Xiaowei and S-Script.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think I seen that in one of your tweets.
So what's
Yeah.
up? What's up now? You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
what's
Bro,
and Ordi's
it's
only
like
at
a
50
weird,
bucks. What's up?
yeah, we're in like a weird timeline where like BSVers were right, but BSV didn't get the network effect. But BTC already had the network effect, and then on-chain happened on BTC, and because of that, the on-chain on BTC got the network effect. You get it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's why, like, to me, like, I'm blocked by both Craig Wright and I'm blocked by Luke. So like I consider myself a centrist. You get what I'm saying? I'm like right in the middle of them because I'm like, yeah, like BSV technically we were right about the whole on-chain thing, and then Luke is like completely far off the edge where he's like trying to censor transactions,
Mm-hmm.
and then to me, like even Craig Wright, like his whole court thing or whatever, like I'm turned off, like a lot of people were turned off by it. So I'm just in the middle. I'm like, yo, listen, man, like, like you got like I'm just in the middle. Like you guys can both be right or in your like whatever or whatever, but I'm in the middle. Like I believe that this on-chain economy that we were introduced to first on BSV, and now it's happening on BTC, and it's gonna work here, right? And that's like the middle ground right now. And like I feel like both BSVers and like BTC like laser eyed people, they're like both on like extreme ends of like the spectrum, and like it's weird because like both of them being on extreme ends is gonna make them miss the exponent, you know like both the extremes are missing out on the exponent, and like the people that are just centrists that are like, oh shit, it's working on Bitcoin, like we're
Right.
the ones that are like going exponential, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what do you find about what are your thoughts on DeFi on BTC? I think there's a company called Liquidium or some shit like that. Yeah, it's Liquidium, and they're like funding right now like 1.5 million for their seed round.
yeah.
They
So DeFi, uh DeFi stuff on BTC, I feel like it's gonna happen because people, like, the market demands it. But like me personally, like I'm not gonna really use it because like it's just complicated for me. Like I don't need to like risk my Ordi for like a few percent a month or like a few percent a year when like the Ordi itself is going exponential. If you
right,
get if you get my drift, right?
of course,
And
of
then
course.
yeah, and then I feel like once I have like a lot more liquidity locked, maybe I could dabble in it. But right now it's still early. Usually like how like past DeFi worked was like staking, like Ethereum staking, where like essentially you you like basically like the late entrants get hyperinflated, so like the early entrants can earn the yield, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this is like this scammy type of hyperinflationary DeFi on Bitcoin, then like I think it's just gonna be like a thing that wrecks people, right? But if it's like more of like a DeFi where like for example, people are like lending their Ordi, and then they're earning a yield, or like they're lending their BTC and then they're earning a yield, or they're earning a yield off like I think in Unisat, like if you have like liquidity pools, you can earn yield off like trading fees and stuff. So like
Mm-hmm.
things like that are obviously more sustainable. But if it's and I think it will be like that on BTC just because like BRC20s are capped. Like like you can't inflate a BRC20's token supply, right? So, but like unlike other staking protocols where like the supply is always just like you just keep earning coins and the supply gets inflated or whatever,
Right.
right? Yeah. So so DeFi it all depends on like the math I guess the math of the DeFi, you know? Like
Badass, man.
yeah, so it's gonna happen on Bitcoin. It's already happening, and there's gonna be so many fucking tokens. So people are gonna be like, like loaning them out, receiving loans, paying interest, and all that stuff, right?
So, okay, so what are your price predictions for Ordi coming up in 2024?
Um, so I like personally, I think that this entire crypto cycle, we have like another 2 years left for it to run, right? So um I think like within like maybe the next I think like sooner than later, like Ordi will be like 0.01 BTC, right? And that's like if it goes to 0.01 right now, it'll be like 400 or 500 bucks. But like I could see it like within like maybe the next six maybe even by like I think within like the next 6 months to a year, be hovering around like maybe like 400 or 500 bucks to like 1,000 bucks, right? And just because everything is just happening faster, like the whole like the bear market for Ordi, it only lasted like a few like for example, like when Bitcoin first crashed from like $30 to like $3, right? It
Mm-hmm.
lasted, I think, like maybe a year and a half, like consolidating before it finally broke $30 again. But like for Ordi, it was like maybe 3 4 months, right? And it broke $30 again, right? So like it'll just happen faster because of like the amount of eyes that are on crypto relative to like back then. So yeah, I think within like 6 months to a year, like I think it'll be like 0.01 BTC, like 400 or 500 bucks to like 1,000 bucks, you know? And yeah, because it's an exponent, right? So and yeah, that's my price prediction for Ordi is like within, the next 6 months to a year, it's gonna be like 400 or 500 bucks to 1,000 bucks. And then by December 2025, um, like I think by December 2025, worst case scenario is that we're at like 1,000 bucks already. I think that's like the most conservative like scenario. And then like after that, if it's higher than that, then that's like the liberal outcome. But I think it will at least be 1,000 bucks by like December 2025, like worst case, because it's only like we already had 50,000 X and now we only need like a 20 X from like we're only 20 X away from like 1,000 bucks, you know? So yeah, like the probabilities are now in our favor. And yeah, like it's gonna go more exponential. And obviously the growth won't be the same rate from like 0 to 1 billion, but it will still be exponential growth.
What else do you think the small-minded laser eyes have up their sleeves in trying to stop ordinals? What else do you expect them to try to do after
Uh,
ocean mining fails?
Uh, I don't know. Like, I don't focus on that, bro. Like to
Okay,
me,
cool.
yeah, to me, I operate with the assumption that they already failed. Because if you were gonna stop ordinals, you had to stop it before like the moment it fucking came out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%, yes.
yeah, like you can't stop it after like 50 million inscriptions. You know what I'm saying? Like That's not happening. Like every day, like we're gonna wake up, more inscriptions are gonna be on chain, more data will be on chain, and then uh like the growth will just be exponential, you know?
Hmm. Okay. So I want to have you back on the show, maybe like 6 months from now, just to, follow the story, because this is pretty awesome. And thank you so much for giving us this exclusive. This is the first time you do an interview like this, right?
Yeah, it was my first time
That's
doing an
beautiful,
interview
dude.
like this. Yeah,
Dude,
you're the
thank you.
bro. The thing is that I like talking to like very few people because like you're one of the people that was like that actually like got it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to talk to like people that don't get it, that are just gonna be like the entire interview they're just playing devil's advocate, for like why it's not gonna work or like why I'm wrong and stuff. But like you and Jack are like that's why like I only like doing spaces with like Jack, and like you're the first interview, because it's like-minded people, right? Like I would never accept like no other random, like I wouldn't do this interview with like some other random person. Yeah,
Thanks, man. Appreciate
no
it. Yeah,
problem.
it's appreciate it. This is
Yeah.
a huge deal. I'll make a huge deal out of it because it is, man. I mean, you're a fucking legend, dude. And not just are you a legend, but you're a very generous person, and you really tried to teach people in real time. And when we witnessed that, we saw you fervently trying to educate everyone about what you saw so obvious. And people, the thing, man, is that people, you understood something so, which such high level vibration, people weren't ready for it. Still now, man, I try to tell people about Ordi, and they're still asking me stupid questions like, I don't see a utility, and I'm like, dude, if at this point you don't get it, you're not gonna get it. And so I literally have told people like, sorry, dude, I'm not even gonna try to explain it to you anymore. It's a waste of time for me. I could be inscribing some other thing that I think is cool. I could be buying more Ordi right now. I could be doing so many other things and trying to explain something to you that don't get it, and so it's at the point where I don't even try to explain things to people. Um and and people that follow me and take me serious, those people I take my time and I show them what's up. But aside from that, no, I don't waste my time because this moves so
Yeah, like
fast,
today,
dude.
yeah, like today some guy asked like, "Oh, would you debate Luke Dash Jr.?" And I was like, "Nah." Like there's no like someone like Luke, like we cannot change their minds.
Mm-mm,
You know what I'm
mm-mm.
saying? He's so he's so fixed in his ways, right? Like that he won't be like he's not going to change his mind about this on-chain economy. He's always going to believe that, oh, we're spamming the chain. Like I don't know if you know this guy named Brad Mills, right? Like I think
No.
he's from so he's like a big like I see his Twitter account around, like sometimes it pops up on my feed or whatever, but he's
Mm-hmm,
like he's a small block laser eye Bitcoiner or whatever. So
mm-hmm,
like the other day he was saying some stupid shit like, oh, like we have to prioritize real financial transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain over like the spam, right? And then in my head, I'm just like, bro, like a Ordi transaction is a real financial transaction. Like a fucking if someone sends someone a Bitfrog, like they sent them money, like it's a fucking financial transaction. Like people speculating between all these trading pairs on chain are financial transactions. Like it's just like oxymoronic at this point. Like
mm-hmm.
their logic, yeah, it's like, oh, their logic is like, oh, it can only be a financial transaction if it was sent in BTC. You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's still a financial transaction if I transfer the value in Ordi and it happened on Bitcoin. It's still a
100%. Yeah.
financial. Yeah, and the miners make more money. Like what the fuck? Like I gotta
Yeah.
inscribe a transfer and then send the transfer. So the miners are making they're making twice the money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just at this point, it's like we're back in 2012 trying to explain some idiot about Bitcoin and they're just not getting it. That's
Yeah.
literally where
So
we're at again. It's
yeah, it's funny because the first ever person that sold me Bitcoin, that guy actually prepared like I don't know if you watched Stefan Molyneux back in the day, but like
I
Stefan had
did.
a yeah, so in
He always pissed me off
yeah,
because
yeah.
I have a
No, back in
background
like
in philosophy, but
yeah,
that's
so
another
back in
story.
2013, 2014, when Stefan was like talking about Bitcoin early on, right? Like the presentation that he gave was actually prepared by the dude that I bought my first Bitcoins off of.
Oh
And
shit.
and then that presentation was a presentation where I read, like, oh, Bitcoin can have tokens, it can have like real world equity, it can have all these like it can have deeds and property like deeds and all these other things, like, it can have smart contracts, right? And my first like and Bitcoin, the currency is just money on the Bitcoin
That's
protocol,
right.
right? That was our introduction to Bitcoin, right? And then now, 10 years later, it's finally happening. And the ironic part is that BTC maxis don't understand. It's like you're measuring, like they measure their BTC in USD. You know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
dumb.
yeah, it's so dumb because USD technically is hyperinflating. So if you're measuring it in a worthless currency that you call worthless, then technically what you're saying is the value is zero, essentially, or as close to zero as possible if you're measuring. It's like measuring something in Venezuelan Bolivar or
I know,
whatever.
right?
Yeah.
Dude, I
So
could never stand that shit, man.
yeah,
People,
so
oh, we
for
need
us,
exchanges. Like,
yeah, so I'm like, so for me, I'm like, yo, it's such a contradiction because like I'm measuring my BTC going exponential, or sorry, I'm measuring my on-chain equity in BTC and it's going exponential in BTC. I'm not even looking at the USD price of it. You get it? Like the thing that
100%.
made BTC the thing that unlocked BTC, the currency, was this risk on economy, right? Because until now, BTC was just being used as a commodity function, essentially, like a store of value commodity function. But now BTC, when it becomes the oil layer, it now is like the fiat money of this layer. You get it? It finally is that currency that we're measuring things against, that we're valuing things, like the store of value, the unit account. You get it? So like our unit account for Ordi is fucking Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? And then the Laser Eye Maxis unit account for Bitcoin is fucking USD, which makes no sense. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's like this
100%.
without this on-chain economy, BTC wasn't even a currency, bro. You get it?
Nah, I get it for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
without this on-chain economy, like Bitcoin's only function was, yo, it's a fucking store of value like gold. And then now because of this on-chain economy, it finally has a use case as a unit of account and as a currency, right? And now, so what I say to people is like USD is to Bitcoin what Bitcoin is to Ordi, right? If you can understand that. So in like the physical world, USD is to Bitcoin what Bitcoin is to Ordi in the on-chain world,
Right on,
right?
right on, right on.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
call Bitcoin the final economic layer. Explain that.
Yeah.
I love that. You say Bitcoin is we're in the final economic layer. Explain that to people. I love that wording.
Yeah, so the reason I say it's the final economic layer is because there's nothing above it, right? Like there's nothing above BTC, right? Like if there was something above BTC, then that thing would be more exciting than BTC. But because there's nothing above BTC, right? Like if we're going to assume that Bitcoin is always the first token, number one token, and then its on-chain economy will obviously become the number one on-chain economy, which it has, right? So this number one token, which is final, it's number one, right? Now it has an on-chain economy, which is the final economy on this number one token, right? So to me, like this is the final economy in terms of like the digital age, right? Like obviously like if the world goes back to like in a primitive state, then like we're gonna be back to like gold and fighting each other with swords and stones and all that stuff. But as long as we're in a digital age, this Bitcoin on-chain economy to me is the final economy till the end of time, right? Like, and if that's not the case, then that means this economy is going to go to zero, right? But it's not going to go to zero. Like we already know that,
We already
right?
know that. Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that's why I say like this Bitcoin economy is a final economy. That's why to me, like even a deeper thought that I had was like, okay, if this is the final economy, then after this, the only thing that we're really waiting for is like the end of time, right? Like when does time end now? We already solved the money problem. We solved the economic problem in like the digital version. This is the final economy. So now after this is just the end of time, right?
Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
very different eschatology, but that word means the end of shit, right? You have a
Yeah.
very different perspective. Uh most big blockers, they're characterized by having a very hopeful worldview. Like they have a very hopeful worldview. You
Yeah.
tend to be more stoic. You're like, no, this shit went to shit. Save your
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have to understand, bro, like like no matter how hard we try to like get people to like disconnect themselves from like the debt world, right? They're just not gonna do it, bro. And like the debt world is what is gonna like basically lead to our like our destruction, right? So I'll give you an example, right? It's very logical too. It sounds very far-fetched, but it's very logical, right?
Go
So
for it.
now,
Yes.
yeah, so let's say like a nation state like the United States of America, right? Their interest expense is going exponential, right? 20% of their tax revenue now that goes towards their healthcare, their security, their military, their whatever, like their infrastructure now is going towards interest, right? So this is like a loss in productivity, right? And because this interest expense is going exponential, we can assume that at one point, right now it's 20% of the tax revenue, but like in like maybe 10, 20, 30 years, it could be like 50% of the tax revenue, or like it can be 60, 70, 80% of the tax revenue is going towards interest, right? Like this is what hyperinflation like happens, right? Where the country can no longer pay for its services because it fucking has to pay its interest expense, right?
Hmm.
So so this is the math function that a lot of the nation states in the world are on, right? Like a lot of the Western states. So like when you look at the world, the external debt of the world, like it's like USA, Canada, Britain, it's all the Western nations, right? Like they're like fucking drowning in debt. You know what I'm saying? They're so at one point what's gonna happen is this debt exponent, this interest exponent, it's gonna fucking start eating into your military spending. Do you get it? So at one point, let's say you're having $5 trillion in fucking tax revenue, in federal tax revenue, and then that entire 5 trillion is going towards, or let's say like fucking 4 trillion of it is going towards interest expense, right? Now your your country's infrastructure will start to decay and start to collapse, right? So my thinking is that at one point the interest expense of like Western nations will get to a point where like they can no longer fund it with their tax revenue, right? And if you get to that point, then you can no longer fund your military, you can no longer fund your healthcare, you can no longer fund your education. You know, it literally puts your nation's sovereignty at risk, right? So at that point, like if this interest expense actually like starts cutting into like the United States military spending and like they cannot secure themselves or their nukes any longer, right? Then they have only two choices. It's like you give up your nukes to like the incoming superpower, right? As like a peace deal to like, you know, like to keep Earth intact, or you blow your fucking nukes and you try to restart. You get it?
Hmm.
Like basically the interest expense of Western nations is going to be the thing that ends up fucking them, right? Because that interest expense is taking all the public's basically like productivity and destroying it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened to Argentina, right? Where like Argentina can't pay its debts. That's why it hyperinflated, right? And then that's why Argentina ended up how it ended up. Venezuela ended up how it ended up, right? So this is the same mathematical path that Western states are on, and if like basically like they can't stop it. You know what I'm saying? So Western states at one point are gonna have a decision to make where it's like, bro, we're in so much fucking our interest expense is so fucking high that we cannot fund anything anymore, not even our militaries, right? And then at that point, like that's why like you have to go to war or you have to like drop a nuclear bomb if you're Western states. You have no other choice. The other choice is that you're defeated and then like new emerging superpowers come in and take over, you know? So
Well,
yeah.
what are your thoughts about the Krawitz thesis of hyper Bitcoinization? Wouldn't like Bitcoin as the equity layer start consuming everything within the Western world to the point that like now the Bitcoin market forces the market drivers to adopt more freedom and less tyranny as Bitcoin consumes the economies that were once of fiat. Don't you think that's
Um,
plausible that we live in a world where that could happen, where then you know it's
it's like
inevitable that just Bitcoin flips fiat?
so right now Bitcoin has like 0.58% penetration of like the global currency market. So like e, e, like
I
fuck,
mean,
like I don't,
it is the greatest
like,
exponent. We already talked about that.
yeah.
So
So
why would it stop? It's just going to
it
keep eating
wouldn't.
away at it, in my opinion.
Yes, technically you're right, right? But then I don't know, bro. Like there was a lot of things that I thought Bitcoin would do, right? For example, so for example, like as Bitcoin, like this is like a verifiable reality, right? Like as Bitcoin has grown over like the last 14 years, like the governments or the states around us have become more oppressive, right?
Right, but that's because they use Bitcoin to create to offset to keep going with their debt-based system. So when the small blockers took over the Bitcoin, they used Bitcoin as another way to leverage off the debt-based
The
system.
debt-based system,
So
yes.
since Bitcoin didn't change anything, the
Anything,
Bitcoin
yeah.
that we know at all up to this day as BTC is a Bitcoin that's their bitch.
Yeah.
We come in changing Bitcoin from within, where now Bitcoin is the final economic layer with the
Yes.
on-chain economy.
Yeah. So
And
like
that's yeah.
in an idealistic world, right? Like in a super ideal world, this Bitcoin exponent technically should consume all the fiat liquidity,
I don't
right?
see why it won't, man.
Why it
Honestly, I
won't?
think
Yeah, I
that's what
agree with you. I agree with
it's
you.
gonna
So,
happen. If everything
so to
we've said in
me,
this conversation
yeah,
is real, which we said is true,
to me
Bitcoin is
the
yes.
key is if Bitcoin starts to if Bitcoin starts to affect nation state sovereignty, how will nation states fight back to keep their sovereignty? Like how violent will they become, or will they just be like a natural transition into like just like a peaceful utopia? Like that to me, like I don't really see a clear picture around that. And then yeah, like to me as
Here,
Bitcoin is yeah.
let me the way I see it is this, man. Pardon me for cutting you off there.
Yeah, it's all good.
Um, Bitcoin is a win-win for everyone. Bitcoin is like the new gold, right? So you as a country within this Byzantine fault tolerant network, you are incentivized to open up the world, your markets to Bitcoin, your capital markets to Bitcoin. That's what's happening. Now, notice what is happening right now in real time. They're opening up a manipulated, half-assed, broken version of Bitcoin where they're embracing it. The power structures that shouldn't be, are embracing BTC, the small blocker version, through the ETF for BlackRock, right? That's what they're embracing. Why are they embracing it? Because it's a Bitcoin that the system can digest in a way that won't kill its host, right? So you
Yeah.
and me come in, Jack come in, and we're like, no, you know what? Bitcoin, we're going to turn on its computational power. We're going to turn on its on-chain economy. And what are they doing at the end of 2023? You see them scrambling, right? The laser eyes are scrambling. What do we do with this on-chain stuff? We must stop it. It's a bug that must be fixed. We must get the government involved to protect this, create some sort of legal moat from this for Ordinals to continue. We must create a mining pool and convince miners to lose money for their idea. The whole thing, man, is that Bitcoin is going to make people bend the knee to the exponential function that we talked about today. Whether you like it or not, like you said, it's not an idea, it's not a belief, it's a mathematical formula that has been unleashed, and Bitcoin will consume everything. The smartest of governments what they will do is that they will embrace the fullness of Bitcoin. They will embrace it. Right now, no one has embraced the fullness of Bitcoin because the fullness of Bitcoin has only lived in your mind and my mind and a couple big blockers. But now we turned it on, and now the reality of the fullness of Bitcoin is becoming one that they can't deny, that they have to live with, and it's like they're in catch 22. I call it checkmate, dude. I don't think they've realized how far this checkmate has gone.
Yeah, that's why like you realize it, I realize it, and that checkmate that you're talking about is the power shift that will happen
Exactly.
over time. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that I was talking about earlier, where if, bro, it's just like I said, if this on-chain economy exceeds the 21 million BTC market cap, the early adopters of this economy are going to be so fucking wealthy that they will have all the power in the world, right? And at that point, those are going to be the people that are calling the shots, right? Like, I think right now, um I remember I think I saw a tweet from like that TO guy from that's like I think he was like Stacks. He was like an investor in Stacks or whatever. Like, you know, TO, like at
Yeah,
TO.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little
Yeah.
guy,
So he,
the orange guy.
yeah.
Yeah, the
So,
orange.
so he was talking, I think it was like a tweet from him or like something along the lines of like, yo, it's so hard to get VC investment for like this Ordinals
That's so dumb. Why
layer.
would he even
And
want
then I
that?
was like, I was dying in my head, in my brain, or because I was like laughing to myself because I was like, yo, this guy still doesn't get it.
They
It's
still don't
like,
get it.
bro, the
David
future.
Bailey from Bitcoin Magazine is still talking about VC funding. Like you
Yeah,
still
and
don't fucking get it, dude.
get it. And I'm just like, bro, you do realize that, yo, all the future funding of the space is gonna come from the people that are holding Ordi, right? Like you do
Yeah, they don't
realize
get it.
that, yeah, like when Ordi is at like $1,000 and we're all sitting on like 40, 50 mil, 100 mil, that we're gonna be the people that can start funding things, and we're gonna be the people that can start like using our money in a positive manner to get outcomes that we think are positive for Bitcoin. And like I said, like the power shift happens slowly and then all of a sudden, and like it's gonna happen, bro. Like as you can see, like the more the higher the price of Ordi goes, the more influence we'll have. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes, but also
yeah,
the more attack we will get, the
oh for
more
sure we'll
haters
get
you will
attacked.
get,
Oh,
and the more
100%.
and the
100%.
more they're gonna dude, because look, man, we're not just playing a game here.
Yeah,
Literally, BTC is the establishment's horse to
yeah,
maintain power over. Look, BTC is their way to maintain power over big tech, media, finance, banking. You think they're gonna just lay back and be like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna allow these big blockers to do as they please"? Fuck no, bro. What we are seeing with with ocean mining
yeah,
is their first like flex. Now that it's a failure, they're gonna start scrambling hard. I don't know what the
yeah,
fuck they're gonna do, but I feel like they're gonna go dirty. I really
yeah. So that's
expect them
why
to
to
go
me,
dirty.
yeah. So to me, sometimes like the position that God put me in, right?
Amen, bro.
Amen. Like sometimes I think to myself that like, yo, like it's too good to be true because if I'm correct, like people don't understand like the level of power that like we will have in our hands, and will like the powers that be even allow it to get to that point, like that, like will they like I like realistically like, yo, if I'm like let's say we get to like 50 million, 100 million, $1 billion, right? Like in our net worth, like bro, like are we gonna get like a knock on the door to like fucking like kill us or like rob us or like steal our wealth,
Well,
like
by
yeah.
that point, you better be like you better have your security on point,
That's what
and you
I'm
better
saying. But
be
even then, like a nation state can just come in with their tanks and their guns and their fucking their drones and all their advanced weapons, and they can like literally take what you have from
okay.
you
But let me
just
tell
so
you, no,
you
at
don't
that by
reach
no, but
that
that by that
position.
point, yo, by
Yeah,
that point, what you have to
yeah,
realize is that the thing that protects you the most
yeah,
is your ability to provide value to everyone, including them. Because
yeah,
Bitcoin is a system that's Byzantine fault tolerant,
yeah.
doesn't demand that you take a purity test to use it. If you're a Buddhist, you can use Bitcoin. If you're Muslim, you can use Bitcoin.
Use Bitcoin. Yeah.
Anybody can use
What?
Bitcoin. There's
Yeah.
no
So what?
purity
That's like,
test.
yeah.
So
That's
so what
one
you
of the
do
things.
is
Yeah.
honestly, dude, because I'm out in the open and I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Just offer value, bro.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is offer value because at the end of the day, these technologies are oriented to better everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be better off because of these things. So
Yeah.
I don't give into that fear because I know
Yeah.
that ultimately what you're doing by explaining this here, you're making people realize things about their life, their investments, how they use their energy, and you're probably helping out. Honestly, dude, there's probably some politician watching this that's probably like, damn, these guys are right. Maybe we should allocate some of our budget to Bitcoin and get some Ordi, like straight up for like national security. You see what I mean? You could have just probably have saved the US from going into some dystopia because you expressed yourself so well using like mathematical language in a way that some geek in the Pentagon can like understand. You see what I'm saying? So all you're doing is just providing value. If anything, what you'll get a knock on the door. You know why? Because they're going to need your help and they're going to pay you to be a consultant. So you better get ready for what that number will be whenever they need you for some consulting.
Yeah. So
like straight up.
So like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like when we get to that point, like then I guess I'll know how to internally deal with it as like an individual. But like right now, like I know, like me and you in our hearts, we know what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Like we know in our hearts where this is gonna go and what kind of opportunities will be presented to us at our feet, and like how will we deal with like that level of like influence or power, in like a positive way, right? Like that's why like
with a lot of prayer, man. A lot of prayer.
There's a lot of prayer.
A lot of prayer, man.
I'm so like
bend the knee.
My reluctancy. Yeah, so like that's my number one reluctancy to like dox myself, right? Is because like I just want to like keep my kids safe, my wife safe, my parents safe, and then like my friend group safe, because I like where like even though I grew up in Canada, like the places I grew up in Canada, like shit wasn't always sweet, like every country has its like areas that are like low income where like people die over like stupid shit, little amounts of money, people rob each other and stuff. But like obviously I'm gonna be out of that environment at that like completely, right? But it's just, I don't know, man. It's like the way other people start acting when you have money is like, to me, is like more harmful than like how my behavior is, because I'm still like the same person. Like I don't have like I still don't think like I'm too good for anybody. Like I'm here talking to you, like like I will always talk to people that are nice to me, try to help people, no matter like where how much money I have or I don't have or whatever. But like it's like when other people around you know that, okay, yo, you might have like X amount of money, then like they start acting different, and their behavior changes. And then that's what I've noticed already. It's like I already noticed people like changing their like their behavior towards me, even though like I didn't do anything. I'm still the same person. I still have the same friends.
I know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah, I'm still chilling with the same people, but it's like now people think that, oh shit, like, like this guy is gonna save us or some shit. And I'm like, I don't know about that, man. Like, I could save, if I think I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get, I could probably save a few people, but I can't save everybody, bro. Like I can't help out everyone, but I could, yeah, it's like, and then it's funny because like, bro, it's the same people that are now expecting these things out of you. Like I told them about Ordi when it was like fucking 30 cents. You know what I'm saying? And I was like begging them. I'm like, bro, put in a fucking $100 or $1,000. That's all you fucking need. You don't need more than that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to like go all in or do anything that's like outside of your like risk tolerance. You get it? Like this will have like basically the amount of money you're gonna risk in that moment is gonna have no meaningful impact on your life if you lose it, but it can have a very meaningful impact on your life if it goes exponential, right? And and that's what we experienced, right? Like where
100%.
Yeah, it's hard to, man, like you experienced it, I experienced it, like people that experience it, it's like the best way to learn. Like people will listen to this, like for example, even our last space, like when I was talking to Jack or whatever, like a lot of people replied to that space like, yo, these guys are fucking nuts. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know how Bitcoin works. They're all fucking crazy, and
like people listening to us, you mean?
People listening to our last space, like, and then people that listen to this conversation, I guarantee you they're gonna reply like, yo, this guy is fucking insane. He
Yeah.
doesn't know how Bitcoin works. He doesn't know shit about how Bitcoin, like a lot of people try to tell me back then when I was talking about Ordi and all this shit that like I don't know how Bitcoin works,
Imagine
and
that.
yeah, and I clearly proved that, yo, I know more about Bitcoin than you do. And then secondly, even recently, like, yo, Bugsy was like, oh, he was trying to compare, like, he was like, oh, ordinal, like, Ordi is not secured by Bitcoin's hash rate, right? Because I made the argument that, yo, Ordi is secured by Bitcoin's hash rate. That's why it's so fucking crazy. Like, you have you have like a whole fucking economy that's secured by Bitcoin's hash, insane, mind blowing, right? So he was like, no, it's not. He's like, oh, just because. And then I was like, yeah, it is, bro. And then he tried to bring up stacks where like he didn't even understand the fundamental difference between stacks and ordinals and why
Wow.
ordinals is more valuable than stacks. Stacks is not valuable because the transactions don't happen on Bitcoin first. They happen
Exactly.
somewhere less secure and then they're settled on stacks. So where's trusting the less secure thing, right? With ordinals, the transactions happen on Bitcoin first and then we index them. Do you get it? So this fundamental difference of what happens first is the difference between stacks and ordinals. You get it? But like there's Bitcoiners out there that think that, oh, it's this, like it's not a difference, you know? And they think that, oh, Ordi is not secured by Bitcoin's hash rate, right? They think that when I say that I'm wrong in my understanding of Bitcoin, So I don't know. It's just like, I don't know, bro. Like to me, the market has proven that I've been right so far. So it's like, did I know more about Bitcoin than you, or like what you
No,
were
yeah,
trying to
you
teach?
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
you know what I'm saying?
The market's
Yeah,
obviously telling you are. Don't
yeah,
allow yourself to be gaslit by people around you, dude. Like
yeah,
it's literally in your face. Okay.
yeah,
Now, in terms of like the future and what the future may bring, bro, I'll tell you something. The vast majority of people in crypto and in Bitcoin that are awesome, that I know and that have made real good gains, have sustained real good gains, they're all very spiritual people. They're all the more you go down crypto and everything with Bitcoin, the more you realize that this is very spiritual.
yeah.
And the
So,
way you're
yeah,
gonna know, God is gonna guide you, bro. So like
yeah. So one
in
of the things,
prayer, you're gonna
bro.
become like a Jedi, man. In real
Yeah. So
time,
one of yeah.
you're
So one
gonna
of the
become a Jedi, man. You're gonna be able to
yeah,
move like,
bro.
and God is just gonna open things up. So don't if you ever feel fear for anything, listen to it. Paranoia does keep you safe, but if it's too much, know that paranoia keeps you safe, and then when you go into prayer, the fear and the paranoia will go away because you know that at the end of the day, God has you here for a reason. You
Yeah,
see what I
and bro,
mean?
one of the key fundamental things that's like I learned like I grew up in like a Muslim household, right? So one of the key things that we learned was like usury is like one of the seven deadly sins, right?
That's
Like
right.
usury is even in Christianity, right? Like in the Bible, like Jesus used to like I think whip the people that
He
were
whooped the shit
engaging
out of him.
shit out of them, right? Yeah. So usury in like all Abrahamic faiths was banned, right? And
Mhm.
like like I was brought up with that thinking, and then I came into a society where like nothing, like I was told that like I can't own anything if I don't engage in usury, and then in the back of my mind, I was always like, bet, I'm gonna do it. Just watch me do it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it.
I felt the
Like
same fucking
why
way,
would
bro. I
why
the
would
same
God, yeah,
same vibe.
why would God ban usury, and not just in Islam and Christianity, in like the original text of Judaism and every Abrahamic faith, usury was never allowed from the time of Adam till the time of Jesus or Muhammad or wherever you believe it ends. Like usury was always banned. You know what I'm saying? So like there had to have been a reason, like some ancient wisdom for why usury was banned, right? And people like always told me like would always tell me like, oh, are you gonna get a mortgage, and are you gonna like get a car on loan, or are you, like just student debt, mortgage debt,
Stupid
car
shit.
debt,
Yeah.
like fucking all fucking
Or what they
garbage.
try to tell you that this here is good debt. No, dude, there's no
Good debt.
fucking good debt.
There's
Fuck
no such
you.
thing
There's
as
no
good
such
debt.
thing as good debt.
Yeah, because
Fuck you
yo,
and your good debt. I live in the
yeah.
equity layer, man. I do not live in the debt-based system. Fuck that
So
shit.
to me, that one teaching that like usury is war against God, I took it seriously, and that's why I got into Bitcoin, because I was like, holy shit, like this is a usury free money. Like we have to bring all our work up front to acquire it. You get it? Like, yes, you can like margin trade Bitcoin and get it all alone, but anyone that's done that, they'll tell you from experience, they've been liquidated for all their fucking coins. You know what I'm saying? And then they never realize that, yo, it's the usury aspect, right? That's why like when I got it onto like this on-chain layer, I already made a pact with like myself and like God that like, yo, I'm never touching a centralized margin trading exchange ever again. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't need to. You get it? Because I was like, yo, on this layer, I'll always be able, like, let's say I even lose everything right now, but I'll always be able to find another exponential fair on-chain equity. You know, like there's always going to be another art collection. There's going to be always be another fair token. There's always going to be, you know, like something like bitmaps or some fair exponent that pops up on this layer that'll help me like go exponential without requiring usury, you know? So that's why the equity layer was so important, because even back home, like no one fucking like my grandfathers, they didn't build a house off a mortgage. They paid fucking cash. You know what I'm saying? Like they worked their asses off, started businesses, like created exponents for themselves, gathered up the cash, then paid cash for their properties, right? So this concept of like debt, it didn't happen back in Asia. It happened when I came here, you know,
Right.
and then yeah, and then yeah, but then I was in my head, I was always like, nah, I'm like, if there's a reason God said usury is war against God, there has to be a way to go exponential without usury, right? And then you figure out through your experience that, oh, the way is network effects, you know, like,
That's right.
yeah, lock in X amount of value in a network effect, you know, and it's going to give you the exponent that you're looking for. And that's exactly what happened, right?
That's badass, bro.
Yeah,
Um, I think a proper question that I should ask you,
yeah.
that people probably want me to ask you is, um, do you see a world where all of the BTC infrastructure goes to BSV?
Uh, nah, I don't see a world like that. Like,
And why is
yeah,
that? Yeah, I mean, you come from BSV.
yeah.
Why is that? Why don't you see that?
I think like BSV just didn't like the BSV just didn't get like a network effect or like an organic network effect, you know? Um
I mean, I
and
couldn't though. I mean,
it
Army,
yeah, that's
it's
what I'm
just
saying.
they
If
prevented it to.
yeah, but
They,
like I'll okay, so I'll tell you like okay, so I'll give you the example of Ordi, right? Like they could have like like the attempt like they could have like Ordi could have been prevented. It can still be prevented, you know, but like it can't be now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the market, I don't know, like I have no fuck like bro, I have no idea why it wasn't on BSV, but like the example of Ordi is network effect being like happening so fast, like it's already worth more than BSV, right? So it's like the market is telling you two different things, you know? So to me, I don't like to me, my like obviously if you're interested in BSV, like I can't really I'm not gonna be the person that's like, oh, you know, like go to court, stop these people, blah blah. It's like no. You know, like do your thing. You know, like you're free to do whatever chain you want, Doge, Litecoin, Bitcoin, whatever. That's your risk analysis, tolerance, whatever. You
right.
know, yeah. So like I guess I don't know, like I, I it's just hard to explain even on the last space when like I was trying to explain to people like why it wasn't BSV. Like I can't give you an answer aside from the fact that BSV just didn't get the network effect of users, you know, and it just didn't get whether it was
I
prevented
mean,
on purpose, you know, like it was
something,
delisted off every exchange.
right.
Like to me, like if it was if it was worthwhile or like worth what was worth very value or like what was like this very valuable thing or idea, then it would have been successful despite like all the delistings and despite all the attacks and all that stuff, right?
Okay,
Like
so
yeah,
one thing though,
yeah,
we saw a little bit of on-chain scaling on BTC this year. that gave rise to this whole new economy that's worth billions now,
Yeah.
that gave us Ordi by giving us a little bit of ability to arbitrage data on BTC. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We all learned that now. Okay. They don't have to destroy ordinals on BTC. What they could do is, because I don't think these dudes are going to give up on their fight, they can stagnate, hold back for as long as possible on-chain scaling on BTC. I don't know how long it's going to be. Eventually, on-chain scaling will happen on BTC. The question is, the longer that they take, and this is the same argument that Jack Lew makes, the longer that they take to scale on-chain on BTC, the more they keep giving BSV an advantage to flex, to show off, to show. You see what I'm saying? Because now you just trained, you got Army of Youth being like one of the top influencers in BTC right now, who is a big blocker that comes from BSV, like Ordi Champion, teaching people how to think this way. So you either scale BTC fast, or you're risking every day that you don't scale BTC, that like Jack Lew, that you don't have that proverbial Zoom call where you get all the miners in and say, yo, we're going to scale it now on chain. Every day that goes by and they don't do that, it's a day that you're educating people more and more about BSV, and you're making that
outcome more probable.
Yeah, man. And that's where I'm like,
it's like, yeah, I've thought about it a lot, right? And okay, I don't know. To me, I will trust what the market is saying, right? In terms of like how like basically like markets are humans, right? And right now, the humans are exponentially going faster towards ordinals than they are BSV, right? So,
well, a run to ordinals to me is a run to BSV. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I agree.
You're moving in that direction.
But this is the
problem. The problem is that as you're moving towards ordinals with BTC, you see dead ends. There's people running that are also, dude, as much people that are into BTC ordinals, now they're moving into BSV because they're looking for the next exponent. They're looking for the next technology. They're hooked on this shit. You gotta understand. Yeah. We became dopamine drug dealers. That's what we did on BTC. We became dopamine drug dealers, and we got everybody addicted to this, to the high of dopamine, of inscriptions. And now it's like they get high off of Bitmap. Okay, cool. Then what's next? What's next? They're all looking for their exponents. It's the crazy thing, bro, is that they're not even looking like you. You're very sane. You're like, I found my exponent, I'm gonna chill. Most people, they're junkies, bro. They just keep fucking going to the casino and they just want to pull the lever. You see what I mean? So now they're going to the BSV casino and they're playing in Dogecoin. They're playing in BTC, Dogecoin, BSV to see what they can get. And guess what? They're learning. They're going to learn that you're going to be... The dopamine drug dealers will just keep building crazy shit where they can build crazy shit.
Okay, so I think I have a good... So basically, I think that so basically it could be the case that like the economic properties of something like Ordi, right? Like basically how like the case that Ordi is the hardest money in the world. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That trumps the technical cases, right? Where like people gravitate towards the things that are going up faster in price than they do more so than like things that are faster, cheaper, more efficient. Do you get it? So
Okay.
like,
Sure. Yeah.
you get what I'm trying to say? So like basically like I feel like um BSVers, they like BSVers are like such they're such like they're such like huge technologists that like they kind of ignore like the economic properties of the assets
But
that
wait a
might
minute. But you
yeah
and I are BSPers, and most of us that think like us,
yeah
aside from the boomers, we're on BTC too.
no, I agree, but I'm
We're
saying that
playing
like
both.
well, I'm not me, I'm like I only have like 6 BSV. You get
Yeah,
it?
you're one of the
Yeah.
rare ones that just said, "Fuck it, I'm just staying in BTC,"
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think is
yeah.
very intelligent.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not banking on BSV being anything in my future. Do you get it? Like that's because I think that the monetary properties of Ordi as hard money trump anything, any equity on BSV. Do you get it? Like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah. Do you get it? Like, so I feel like the economic properties of Ordi in terms of like the liquidity it's sucking in and its price going up, and then the humans being enticed by the price action of like it going exponential and that part of the network effect, right? Like it brings in like more people than like just a chain on like just like assets on BSV that are not doing anything, or like that might not be going up in price, or like that aren't going as exponential as Ordi, right? So for example, me myself, the reason I got into Bitcoin initially, so the first time I heard about it was $70, right? And then I ignored it, right? And then the second time I heard about it was $100, right? And then I went and asked one of my you know how you need a validation from like for Ordi or whatever from like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
outsiders. Yeah, so I went and asked my friends that were like into currencies and shit. I was like, yo, like this thing, Bitcoin, it's at $100. Like, do you think it's a good buy? And then they were like, nah, it's too much. You know what I'm saying? And then it went to like 200-300 bucks, and then I was like, fuck these people, I'm buying it. You get it? So that price action, right, was the thing that brought me into like buying my first Bitcoins, because I was like the fear of missing out. You get it? So Bitcoin adding me as a user was initially because it tugged at my greed. Do you get it? Not because I knew anything about it as a better money or a faster money or immutable or unhackable or any of that shit. You get
Right,
it?
right, right, right.
Yeah. So that primitive behavior that I had as a noob, right? I feel like everyone's behavior is that way, right? Where like if you ignore Ordi at 30 cents, at a dollar, you were like, oh fuck, I'm wrong. I gotta buy this. Right. And then if you ignored it at $5, then at like 20 bucks, you were like, oh shit, yo, I need to get some. And then now if you're ignoring it at $50, like think about it. At 30 cents, there weren't as many people coming into Ordi as there are at $50.
100% for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get it? So like this is part of the network effect, right? Like to me, you know what's the like BSV needs something like a Ordi, right? Like be it the oil layer
It needs
can't
liquidity, brother. It just needs to
no
be listed on
liquidity. I
exchanges.
100%, 100%.
That's
But
all
I'm
it really
saying that
needs.
if BSV had something that had an organic network effect like Ordi, and that can get into people's minds like Ordi, where people are like, yo, I need this thing no matter what, and the only way to get it is to go on BSV, right? Then the network it will bring the users in. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
it's like, yeah, but it's like BSV doesn't have that, and I can't bank on my life waiting on something when only God knows when that could happen. When I have like a mathematical plan till December 2025 for an exponent that I can
I agree.
execute on. You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. But if it
Yeah,
wasn't for BSV and what you learned in BSV,
I wouldn't be here.
you wouldn't be here. So
I,
it's
I
like,
would even, yeah, but remember, like, also letting go of BSV was a part of my growth as a person too,
true.
right? Right? Like, I like basically I got into BSV at like 40 bucks right after I forked. It went to 450 bucks. It looked like we were right. We were all geniuses, right? It was like, oh shit, like we hit the fucking jackpot, the next Bitcoin,
Mhm.
right? And then it went to a perpetual bear market, and I stopped out at 150 bucks because I, as a person, even though like as a human being, it's like a part of our ego to always think that, yo, we're right and the market is wrong, but
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, but then at some point, like if you understand that, like you cut your losses, right? You're just like, okay, you know what? I have no time frame for when I'm supposed to be right. It's only going down. I'm gonna cut my losses here and then go to something that's going up, right? And then last cycle, basically that was ETH, right? Like ETH outperformed Bitcoin because ETH was like the oil layer and it had a risk on economy, right? But if you've noticed, since Ordinals came out, ETH hasn't been doing too well versus Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like ETH is like at like 0.054 or 0.055, right? Like at one point it looked like it was gonna break higher versus Bitcoin, and now it
Right.
just keeps bleeding, right? Because in my opinion, I think the BTC oil layer it's having a like the equity on it is so much better, right? Like the equity on BTC itself is just so much more better and harder that like I think that its economic properties and of it creating exponents is the driving factor of like bringing in the greedy users, right? Like the users are coming. I feel like the users come in because of greed, right? And on BSV, it's like, where can you be greedy? There's not enough liquidity, right? On BTC, you already, like, Ordinals protocol already flipped BSV. You know what I'm saying? Like, its network effect has already exceeded BSVs in a way shorter
Right.
time, right? And this exponent will continue. You know what I'm saying? And me and you, we don't know when it will stop. So we have the choice of going on the exponent that's going faster or waiting for another thing to become an exponent. You know what I'm saying?
Right on, bro. So
Yeah.
if you would have faded Ordi, or if you would have been late to Ordi, what other exponents would you have jumped on? That's the last question to ask you because we're going on to 3 hours now, man.
Yeah. So,
Let's
bro,
say you
honestly,
would have been late. You slept in that day. You were on a vacation. You missed out on Ordi and inscribing Ordi. What would you be focusing on now? Well, what's your second favorite post
exponent.
Ordi exponent? Yeah, or
Um,
third favorite?
fuck, I'd be so much more confused, man. Like, if I missed out on Ordi, like, I would be so confused on like what to do. Because at that point, um, like Ordi was like the one thing where you weren't, or like even like the early BRC 20 tickers where like there was no teams or no announcements, nothing. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just like a free for all. Like even like some of them, I think I'm into like 141 of them, and like I got liquidity on like maybe 5 or 10 of them, right? So, but I would be okay, let's put it this way. If I didn't understand shit about Ordi, right? Like let's say I didn't understand Ordi at a theoretical level or like or its value, then I would probably be one of those guys that's like in Discord groups that's like fucking, trying to find like fucking announcement or like a team or like a piece of art or some shit. But like I said, like if I was starting from zero and I knew about Ordi and its value and why it's valuable, then I would probably just stick to stacking Ordi. Like
Okay.
me personally, like I think that um like if you're gonna give financial advice, right, to people, right, you you better make sure that you are right because the outcome of you being wrong is that everyone gets fucking wrecked. You know what I'm saying? So that's why after I found Ordi, I stopped sharing mints, I stopped sharing artwork, everything, because I'm like, okay, guys, the right advice for me to tell you in terms of risk is, yo, just stick to Ordi. You get it? Like, I can't, as like my consciousness cannot give you any riskier advice than that. Because Ordi in itself is very risky, but like obviously to us, we look at it like, okay, this is not risky, it's obvious, right? But like
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, but someone that doesn't understand, they're looking at Ordi like, holy fuck, this is like some degenerate ass shit.
Shit, man.
You know what I'm
People
saying?
still don't get it. I have a
Yeah, so
hard time
people,
selling it to my own team. It's like they
yeah,
don't get
and
it
you know what,
still. They don't
bro?
get
You know
it.
what's,
And you know
bro?
what? I realize they're not gonna get it.
They're not gonna get it. And the
They're not
funny
gonna
thing
get it.
is that that is our trade, right? Remember I was telling you how like 90% of people cannot be on the same side of the trade, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's just the human behavior that you're witnessing where it's like so obvious to me and you, and but to other people, they're just like, bro, like, like what's wrong with you? Like to me, just having a fucking token on Bitcoin in itself was a historical fucking
Of
event.
course, man. In
Yeah. So
hindsight, but you saw it right away. Other people didn't.
yeah, so to me, like even just off the value of, like first token on Bitcoin, that's limited, like I was just looking at it like, holy fuck, like this is a lottery ticket, you know? Like it's such a low risk lottery ticket. Like you're gonna fucking, and even I even posted in my Discord in Ordinals computer that like, yo, the way BRC20s are designed is like they're designed to pump if they get a network effect, right? Because they're secured on Bitcoin, they're all hard capped, you know, and if there was a fair mint, right, that's what you need for like a good network effect, you know. And yeah, like now we're seeing like
Stats.
yeah, Sats.
Stats.
Perfect. Sats was a perfect example. And it's funny because like I told Jack about like when Sats was minted like 1-2%, I was like to Jack, like, yo, this shit is gonna mint out really fast, like exponentially fast, right? And he agreed with me. And like it minted out way faster than what I calculated. You know, like I thought it would mint out in like 12 months to like 16 months or some shit. Right. Like I was just like did some math in my head, top of my head, and I was like, yo, 12 to 16 months, this shit will mint out. And it minted out way faster. And I couldn't believe, I was like, whoa, like this is insane, because someone made like 10-11 million dollars just off fucking letting people mint sats, you know, in like
Wow.
3-4 months, because there was like 21 million inscriptions, right? So these services, fucking sats was like probably the mint that they made the most money on, right? But like to me, uh so for example, you know how like people, that logic of like, oh, most holders and like biggest exponent, like that's not, to me, that's logic is not a sound logic, because if that was the case, then like it would just be like so for example, Doge, right? Like Doge BRC20, like if that shit mints out, it'll be way bigger than Sats. You get it? So does that mean like, okay, now Doge BRC20 will, you know, overtake Sats and Ordi, right? Like it'll just be like, oh yeah, I could just create another BRC20 that if it mints out will be bigger than Sats, right? Like in terms of total inscriptions, amount of holders and stuff. So
Right,
like,
right.
yeah, so that's why even 0xBT, bro, like one of the things that they first tried to do when they tried to sell 0xBT was, oh, it has more holders than Ordi and it has more volume for like 2-3 days than Ordi. And like they tried to sell people on that, you know, and it didn't end up working out in their favor, right?
First is first.
First is first. And just like an organic network effect, it can't be stopped, right? Like anytime you see like a pump and dump, that was like someone trying to like manufacture like a short-term network effect, and then it just died. It had like a negative network effect and it died, right? But like something that's not a pump and dump, that's like an organic network effect, like that shit will go to infinity versus fiat money, right? Because fiat money is 1/x, like it's always trending towards zero, right? Even though it'll never hit zero, but anything measured in fiat will go to infinity, right? That's why I said Bitcoin is like a exponential function, because measured in fiat, everything trends to infinity, you know? So yeah.
Badass, bro. Army, we
Yeah.
got to do this again.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
so
sure,
much
bro.
for your time.
No worries.
Allah Hafiz.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, bro.
Hey, alaikum salam, bro.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time. Dude, we can talk for 3 more hours. I think people got enough. They got to meet you. They got to know you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for teaching and your generosity and being vocal about what you know and what you see. And I think I asked you everything that I needed. Any last words of wisdom?
Nah, bro. Thanks for having me and for being kind and for not thinking I'm crazy and like, yo, and yeah, like great conversation, and I like what your dad said, you know, and rest in peace to your dad.
Thanks,
Uh
man. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah, that like a lot of people, that's why it's funny, like on our last space with Jack, someone was telling me, oh, so you don't do anything, like you just you're just like not productive, and I was like, yo, fucking define productivity, you know?
That
Like
was a moment I remembered my dad.
yeah, like
Literally, there
define
was that
product.
conversation.
Yeah, because there's some people, because I've done the grind of like creating an app and being up all night and working with devs and coders and fucking trying to test the app and making it work. But that app went nowhere. So like, was I being productive? You know, like,
Yeah, that's the
you know,
communist theory of value, bro. That's what they were trying to spit at you.
yeah, the
That's
communist theory of
communist.
value.
That's all
Yeah.
it was.
Because a
All
value
right,
could be
that's
a thought in your brain, or, you know, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was great talking to you.
Likewise, Army, we'll do this again. I'll just hit you up, man. 2, 3 months, 5 months from now. I
Yeah,
sit down with every 6 months. I sit down with Jack. So how about we do
Yeah.
this every 6 months? Let's sit down and recap everything that has happened. Sounds good.
All right, cool. Yeah, that sounds great, man.
Thank you for your time. Peace,
Thank you.
love, anarchy.
Take care.
Now we are dealing with a possible world war. Some will say we are already in a world war. My condolences and prayers go out to everyone suffering under tyranny. It really sucks. I'm really sorry. But it seems as if people are starting to wake up regarding crypto more and more each day. And so it's in the description right here to read, where we give our secret sauce and what we teach our subscribers, because things are just that bad. You know, everyone needs this information. People need to know about sound cryptocurrencies that are actually private by default, and to know how to properly use crypto.